It is officially live, I believe. I need to make sure these other accounts are actually live. Let's see. Let me check on some things while I'm checking on that. Oh, okay. So we live on YouTube. Look at that. You're cute, girl. Yes, bitch. We love to see you. All right. That's the only one that really mattered.
Oh
Just to be
wow. What?
everybody who else has their own personal things that y'all are going live on, feel free to do what you need to do. I love that for you all. Um, yeah. I just needed to make sure YouTube was working because if she was not working like she was supposed to work, then I would have just been on some other shit.
Mhm.
Oh my god, not Tyler Perry talking.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't show. It doesn't show my Instagram is on, but that's okay. If I told everybody, I gave everybody the QR code for YouTube as well, so hopefully they go there too.
My Instagram is not up. Why Insta? What we doing? I know we're not the best of friends, girl, but oh, I haven't even
Mm-hmm.
turned it on. That's probably why.
That could be why. Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
definitely why. Like, didn't I set you up right before I came on here? Like, what is we doing Instagram?
It's always something, right?
It's always something. Like first she's coming for me because I keep posting whatever I want to post on her. Oh Lord, now
It's
I hear
always
my
something, right?
it's always something. I was hearing myself.
That was me.
The echo.
That's my bad.
Yeah, I was hearing. I was hearing the echo too. I wasn't gonna say nothing, but you know.
Well, look at that. We are officially live on all the things. I don't know who all is here, but I think it's time to go ahead and get the thing started. How do y'all feel? Are y'all ready?
Let's do
Always.
it.
All right, let me get me a little sippity sip.
Oh, yeah, I should finally try my mead.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please tell us how that is.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
is it
good.
good?
It's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, y'all. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Heauxliloquy Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slater Jackson, and for you freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Adams. And on today's episode, we have a live recording. We're all over the place. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on other people's platforms. We're somewhere out here in the ecosphere, and we'll be releasing this episode sometime soon. And with me, I have Wes as well as Nicole, and we're about to party because you already know whenever I do anything that's live, I'm going to get lit, and therefore I shall. Just to let y'all know, because of course I'm not advertising for this hoe, but I do like this hoe. I am on the Taylor Port. And I am on some tequila. It's cheap tequila. Like, the budget is not budgeting like it needs to budget. So you make what do. But I always have room for Taylor in my budget because me and her, we go way back. Okay, girl. So don't be shaking your head like that, Nicole. Don't be judgy. Don't be judgy.
No judgment. Just
Yeah,
go get
so
the. Just go get the. Just go be an affiliate already.
no, but really though, I need them to just be like, "Hey, okay, Vernon, you've been bringing us up on your podcast. We don't care about that sex shit, but we like what you're doing over there. Continue to do that." Like, let me know, girl. Let me
We don't give a
know.
shit about the sex. Just keep on plugging us.
Right? Let people know about how much you like us. Mind you, Miss Taylor came out of nowhere and made a black, so she is chic now. And I was like, okay, Taylor chic, how you doing? Oh, and she's a little bit more sweet, and I'm like, and stronger. They play too many games,
I was gonna say that's right up your alley, ain't it?
and it is, and it is. Like Taylor, y'all playing too much. Y'all are playing way too much with my life today. Okay, so for those people who are new to the podcast, new to the this live space, who actually joined through the Eventbrite and all those other great things. First off, thank you so much for participating in this live event. Secondly, I know many of you do not even know who the fuck I am, so I extra appreciate you for signing up. So let me introduce myself, and then we'll go through the guests, starting with Nicole, then Wes. So first off, me. My name is Vernon T. Scott. You can also add the doctor in front of there, but it's implied. Just know. So again, my name is Vernon T. Scott. I am. Sex coach certification still pending. I am, well, in 2 weeks, I will be a marriage and family therapist intern. So if you're in the Atlanta area and you're looking for a therapist, look me up. What else? I have a history in higher education. I own Slater's Playhouse, which is a publishing company. I am the host of the Heauxliloquy Podcast, which is what you're listening to today. On top of that, I wrote the essential guide on how to be a hoe. So if you out here in these streets and you just trying to figure out what kind of wholeness you're trying to do, what trying to find ownership of your sexuality, wherever the case is, you can always look up that book. There's something that I could bring up a little bit later once I find that little thingy, just so that if you want to, you can scan the QR code and follow that. On the screen, you will see a QR code which links directly to the Heauxliloquy Podcast info. And lastly, if you are into journaling, I also have the Sexual Exploration Journal. That's just a fun little way for you to create your creativity, well, connect your creativity with your self reflection. So definitely look into that. You can find all the things at slatersplayhouse.com. As for the essential guide on how to be a hoe, you can find that on Amazon. So,
Or in the
going
corner where hoes go.
right. So, to move forward with the introductions, Nicole, who the fuck are you?
So, my name is Nicole Waldron, aka Nicole the Melanated Vixen. I am the founder and CEO of Melanated Vixen, also a licensed sex coach. Of course, that's pending, I think, by the end of the month, actually. But other than that, I created my business, my platform to help educate people about sex, adults mainly about sex, get all the education you didn't get in school, fix all the quote unquote educations that you got throughout your life in these streets that are mostly wrong, and hopefully help you to have a better life and sex life as well.
Yes, and Wesley.
I feel bad because I'm Wesley Toma, but I don't have an AK like you two do. I feel
It's
like I need to
okay.
come. I mean, I guess my boys call me Daddy, so AKA Daddy.
See, I was thinking Beast Daddy. Is
Beast Daddy.
no to Beast Daddy? Can we?
Beast Daddy,
No,
Yes.
maybe.
No.
I'm
Maybe.
okay with
maybe.
it. I mean, I do bite.
We support.
We
Anyways,
support that.
I am Wesley Toma. I am a certified relationship and intimacy coach. I focus mostly on the queer and the kink communities. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say. I have my own, website, wesleytoma.com. Go there if you want to work with me. Otherwise, I'm just here to drink, have fun, look at this fabulous top that Vernon's wearing, and, just enjoy myself with two fantastic people.
That's
Yes,
a
thank you
plug
for
right
the
there. That was
gas
great.
up. Right, right. I love it. So, Whew. All right, so for those who have seen the flyer and all of that, you already know that the conversation that we're having today is about sexual healing. So, shout out to Adriana. She reached out to me on IG and she brought up this conversation because she was like, "Hey, I would love for you all to have a conversation about exploring sex and having sex while you're in the process of going through therapy." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is like a beautiful topic." And from there, here we are having this live event, and we're going to talk about sexual healing.
Although
So,
I do want to
mhm.
say you missed a perfect opportunity for a little bit of Marvin Gaye.
You did.
I did.
You
I
did.
did. Y'all forgive me.
It's gonna be all right though.
Only because of that topic. Well, forgive me.
So, to start off this conversation, so I don't want to just stick to yes or no, but I feel like that's the best way to answer this question. So, do you recommend a person as they're starting their journey through therapy and whatnot? Do you recommend or do you think that it will be a good choice for them to have sex while they're unpacking and healing and all those other things? Or do you feel as though sex will just be something that mixes things up for them or makes it harder for them to actually process whatever the hell is going on with them? So how do you all feel about it?
Wes, you want to go first?
Sure. I think for me, it. I mean, it depends on therapy. What you're going in for therapy for. Obviously, if you're going in for therapy for something that's obviously not related to sex, then who cares? But I'm assuming that's not what this question is about. But if it's sex related therapy, and again, it depends on what you're kind of doing. If you're working through certain types of trauma that could be triggered from these encounters, then maybe it would be a good idea
Mm,
to step away. If you're dealing with other types of things, like I mean, if you were abused, for example, and anytime you have a sexual encounter that gets triggered, maybe you should take a step back for a little bit and talk to somebody a little bit, and then find like the right time to work back into that. But if it's for something completely unrelated to that, and where yes, it's sex related, but not necessarily the reason you're in therapy, I see no problem with it, as long as you're being a responsible, consensual adult.
mm. What about you,
So
Nicole?
I agree. I pretty much agree with that. That was the first thing that came to mind. What are you going to therapy for in the first place? Um, is it something? Because if it's something that's related to your sex life, your sexual self, then you should probably, depending on what your therapist or your coach says, depending on, is it because of a traumatic experience and you're trying to get out of there, and you're trying to get out there, and the person that you meet, you're like, you know what, I think I'm feeling them enough or comfortable enough to where I want to engage in that.
Hmm.
But I mean, more than anything, I would say talk to your therapist. If you're in therapy, if you're going to counseling or coaching, talk to whoever it is that you're speaking with and let them know, like, hey, I met someone, or hey, it's getting to that point where I got an itch and I need to get that scratched real quick, but I want but I need to let someone know that, so that they can ask you whatever prompting questions they need to ask you. They can give you whatever advice that you need to, and then the next time that you come to therapy, that could be the one thing that you delve into, like, how did your encounter go? How are you feeling right now? What did anything trigger you, or was there something that you want to do different, or whatever, just so that you can have someone that is there for you and your healing, especially if it has to deal with a sex related issue that you're going in for.
Mm,
So I think it's one of those things, because if your counselor or your therapist is saying, I don't think you're ready, what makes you think you're ready? um, you guys can have that conversations, and of course those conversations, and of course make whatever decision that you make, but at least have someone that's going to be there for you to unpack whatever it is, good or bad, after you have that encounter, that experience.
mm,
And on top of that, one thing we kind of haven't mentioned, but it should be assumed, but just in case, not only talk to your therapist, but talk to your partner.
Mm.
Yes.
Because if you're meeting someone and you're having this relationship and you want to have this relationship with them, then you need to be upfront and honest. And believe me when I say I understand that that conversation will be one of the scariest conversations you ever have. I get it, but it's an important conversation, and it also can gauge a lot. If you come out to your partner and you tell them this conversation, tell them this situation, and they're not supportive, that says boatloads about them. But if
Yep.
they are supportive and they're like, they'll do whatever they need to do to make you comfortable, relaxed. Okay, even if that means like halfway through they're about to nut and you stop because you need to stop, then that's someone you want to really pay attention to. So I
Mm.
think besides talking to therapists, which is obviously important, make sure your partner is also very well informed and that they know what's going on and they know what the situation is, because I mean nobody some people are into criers, but nobody wants someone who's crying for a bad reason when it's sex. They want you, if you're going to cry, it wants because it's a good tears. They don't want it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to have sex with you and cause trauma. That's
Mm.
because that's kind of. I mean, it's never. Luckily, it's never happened to me, but that could be mortifying and scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with every single point that you all made because, like, in those processes, like, there is a lot that can be going on that you are just not ready to begin that process of engaging in sex. And sometimes you won't even be able to not talk, but be able to build a relationship with anybody because of all the things that you have to process. Maybe it's something dealing with having trust issues. Maybe it's something dealing with just overgeneralizing your past relationships onto every single new person that you engage with. And it most definitely in those cases, you really do have to take that step back to recognize, okay, was this past partner that I was dealing with the same as every single one of them, or did I project the behaviors of other people onto them? And
Mhm.
sit with yourself to understand exactly where you are in as it relates to moving forward in having those conversations or building those relationships and being truthful of, am I really and am I truly ready to engage in any kind of relationship, be it just sexual, be it romantic, or even if it's with your own friends. Like, how am I when it comes to treating people how they want to be treated, and how do I want myself to be treated when I engage with other people? And when you do throw sex into that, and like y'all mentioned earlier, what are you coming to therapy about? If it's something related to a sexual trauma, all right. If that is something that is impacting you in the moment, all right. So what is my body saying that my mind is going against? Because sometimes our minds or our will is telling us, okay, I'm ready for sex, but your body's saying, bitch, go ahead and sit the fuck down. You cannot, do not pass go. I'm not ready for this. I don't trust who hands these are because I remember the last time somebody had hands like this, it was not what I wanted. So you have to make sure you process that. Have those conversations with your body, like, sir, you ready? Or like, can we move forward in this moment? And even like I mentioned, communicating with your partners. Sometimes, like, that is a very tough conversation because if you have a partner who does love having sex on a regular basis and they've already been without sex for 3 months, and you're just like, well, I'm in therapy, babe, and and with this process, I'm still not at that point to engage in sex. That may even bring up even scarier conversations. Okay, well, I'm still here with you, but I have sexual needs that I want to be met. Is it okay to open the relationship, or how much longer do you feel as though that you will need before I can engage in sex? And like, there's a sense of obligation that we often have to our partners because of how how relationship dynamics are. And even if it is like an extremely healthy relationship where the communication is wonderful and phenomenal, there's still going to be, is my partner's needs being met? That's another conversation. And within that, are my needs being met within this relationship? And how do we find that balance to make things a little bit easier? Sometimes that may be like Wes was saying, if it's coming close to the point of ejaculation, you're just like, no, I can't go any further. Sometimes you may have to finish yourself off.
Mhm.
Sometimes it
Mhm.
may be, hey, we're going to get the engine running, but this car is not going to go. All right. But that may be how you get back to the place where you are ready to have sex with your partner and indulge in all the greatness that they bring to your life rather than just, it's a very, very complex
It
thing
is.
with healing.
And also you want to a good thing that could do in terms of like for your partner, if you're comfortable with it, is gauge where the trauma is. Like for example,
Yeah.
I know in the past my husband has had some trauma with relationships that we had to work through long ago, but there was a time where he was not very comfortable with penetrative sex, but he was perfectly fine helping me climax, helping me jerk off, helping me get to that point. That didn't bother him. Penetrative sex was a little bit too much, and it took a little while, but we obviously eventually got there. But so gauge yourself, gauge your partner. If there's something you can do that you are okay with, and don't push yourself. Don't do it because you think your partner needs it or your partner wants it. Do it because you're okay to do it. But if like say like I said, if like a blowjob is too much, don't do that. If certain things are not too much, don't do those. But if you know for a fact you can do other things, you know, it may you could offer that as I don't want to say as a consolation prize, but as a compromise as well to say, hey, I'm sorry I can't do this, and I thank you for being supportive. Is let me do this for you. And again, if your partner is a good person, you know, they'll be happy to wait with nothing until you're happy, until you're ready. But if you're going to offer any little bit, like I know with me, when he was like, I can do this, I'm like, I'm just glad to have this time with you,
Mm,
and a good partner will basically say the same thing.
Right. I agree.
same, same. Well, let's get a little bit into our own personal information if you all are ready for this part. So, what was your personal healing journey like? Most definitely, like just the overall healing journey. If you've gone to therapy, if you've seen a coach, or even if you just did self work over the years, what did that look like for yourself? What are some of the lessons that you learned, and also what avenues did sex have within that journey for you? Let's start off with Wes.
Okay. Mine has been a very torrid affair with sex, very ups and downs. Without getting taking too long, I was raised in a Republican home that was very, very religious. So I had a lot of sexual repression that I had to work through when I was younger. It took me until in my mid 20s to even come out as a gay man. And then even after that, I was like I still struggled with it for many, many years because, there's a lot of self hate and self deprecation in the queer world because of all the shit that we've heard our whole lives.
Mm,
Um, it wasn't until I met my husband and we were already married and we had a well established relationship before I was even comfortable enough to broach the topic of kink with him. And he's been so supportive. We both kind of taken this kink journey. We both become very kinky, but I wasn't comfortable talking about this with other people before. It's like again that what we're taught growing up is like this is shameful. The fact that you like to do these things, that's weird. You shouldn't do. You just
mm,
normal people don't do that. So but in terms of like healing, I know, like I've been to therapy many times, whether not necessarily sex related, but I think everyone needs some sort of therapy at least one point in their life.
mhm,
I know when we opened our relationship, which we did about it was about a year ago now. We opened our relationship. We intentionally said we intentionally went to couples therapy, not because we thought not because there was anything wrong with us. We were actually been in a very good place, but we didn't want to mess up. We
mm,
didn't want to do the open relationship wrong, and two, we didn't want to screw up our current relationship by doing that. So, before we even invite another partner into our lives, we're like, well, let's go see a therapist. Let's talk to somebody. Make sure while we're doing this process, while we're on this journey, we have somebody we can talk to who understands. And we found some therapist that is very pro poly relationships, and she understood the situations and the dynamics, and she was very helpful for us. So that was my overarching story through line.
So, before we get to you, Nicole, I did want to touch base on something because I love that you mentioned that you sought out therapy in order to understand more about polyamorous relationships. And it's not that there was any kind of true issues that you and your partner were going through at the time, but it was just like, hey, we're about to go about something that is new to us that we have not experienced before, and we need some help navigating this. And I think more people need to look at the possibility of, well, I feel as though people, it would benefit people to look at therapy as that avenue as well, like you did.
Mhm.
Most definitely when it comes to moving forward to like to marry somebody. And I know that couples counseling is a part of, you need to have that before you get married, but most people don't really have true couples therapy. Like they're not meeting with somebody to discuss those different dynamics, discuss what family looks like for both parties, or more than that, why we're, I don't know what these families look like these days. Everything is new. Or they don't even have the conversations about, okay, what about kids in an earnest way, or what that would look like if someone were to adopt versus if someone were to have their kids biologically or what have you, or even if artificial insemination might have to be something that the family needs and what that entails. But it's like, I feel as though if more people took that same route that you and your husband did to learn more about these different relationship styles before engaging in it, um, I feel as though there would be a lot more healthy relationships out here.
I am very much in the camp that if you're going to therapy to fix a relationship, it's already too late.
Mm,
You shouldn't be going to therapy to fix your relationship. You should be going to therapy to and strengthen, to reinforce your relationship. So you want to go. The best time to go to therapy is when things are good, and then because even if when things are good, there's still something to talk about. There's still something to work through. You don't want to wait till you're at each other's throats, ready to murder each other, because at that point it's almost unrepairable. But if you are good with some issues that you just need to resolve, that's when you want to go, because you can be like level-headed, you can be calm, collected, you still love the person, you still want to respect them, and you're going to be able to work through those things better. So yeah, I am very much like, if you're going to therapy because your marriage or relationship is in the rocks, it's too late. You're done.
that's real. That is very
Mhm.
real. So Nicole, what's your journey like?
My overarching story. Likewise, I'm gonna try not to take too long. Um, so, so mine was, growing up in a religious household, but not too religious. It was more so like where my family's from and just the mindset of the people there, um, and like the sexual repression that you didn't even know that you had type thing until
Mm,
you start meeting people who are different, who are a little bit more free. Might not be completely free, right? And I will say, along my journey, met more and more freer and liberated people, which has definitely helped me as well. But not even knowing that you had any kind of sexual repression, and going through these different relationships with people, whether they were like romantic or sexual relationships with people, and coming away from it and being like, dang, like, is it me? Or is it everyone? Is it everyone else, or what's going on? And it took me a while to like have those honest conversations with myself, and realize that everybody else's journey is not my journey. Just because people say that things should look like X, Y, and Z, if it doesn't feel right to me, then it's not good, right? Um, so taking my time, like I had one relationship that was like the real part of a turning point for me that made me be like, all right, I need to hold off on bringing somebody else into mix. Let me really figure out who I am, what I want, what I need, et cetera, instead of just listening to what everybody else is saying. That I should need as a woman, as a Black woman, blah blah blah. So getting away from that and really trying to figure out what it is that I need from another partner, period, right? And then after I figured that out, again, like I said, meeting different kinds of people, not necessarily having romantic or sexual relationships, just, friendships and conversations, realizing that there's so much more about myself that I need to learn and be okay with what I find, because it's me and it really isn't anybody else's business. So within that time, I learned, like I said, from so many other people about different things, put myself in those situations. When I started going to a therapist, it was actually for something completely different, not even sex related, but that was something that she brought up. Like, let's talk about your relationships. Are you in one? What was your last one? Da, da, da. So, talking about those things, even though it took me a while to really open up about that part, because I'm like, oh, I'm not here for something else. Maybe we should just focus on that. And she was like, no, all of this is part of you, but don't worry, we'll put a pin in it and we're gonna come back. And I just, dreaded the day. It was like when you get in trouble and you know that your parents are gonna, scold you or whatever, but they don't do it as soon as you get home or as soon as they get home, and you just, you wait almost 24 hours and you think you scot free, and then she brings it up type thing. So there was a lot of that. It wasn't pleasant at first, but at the same time, I was like, I really need, in the I can't even think of the word, but just to take myself seriously and my own growth and own healing seriously, I really had to be like, let's really sit down and have these conversations with self for sure. Even asking um, partners that I actually still talk to, that I was in relationships with, asking them different questions about me, about our relationship, about what they thought that I did, and having to be ready to hear those answers. And of course, most people are just like, "Oh no, it was okay, except for that one thing." And I'm like, I'm asking you for a reason. I need this for my healing. So trying to do that as much as possible, but just being more self-aware and then explore, and then now figuring out who I am for the most part sexually, but then just like you, Wes, in exploring these spaces. Like, I knew about BDSM things for years. I just never experienced it myself. But seeing that there are certain things in the kink realm that I'm just like, I actually like that, and trying to incorporate little things when my partner is willing to do those, so I can see if I really like that. So right now I'm kind of in that space of still exploring the kink side of myself. And Vernon knows about part of that just because I saw him last week. But exploring some of
Yes.
that kink side of myself, and seeing what it is that I truly like and don't like. Do I belong in this world completely, or is it just a few little things? So I mean, we always learn new things about ourselves every day. And of course, Vernon will tell you too, with us going through the sexology coursing, programs, the things that you're exposed to and that they make you watch and look at, and at first, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, you'd been like, it's not really my shit. But then you look at it now and you're just like, okay, I
Maybe.
can actually, I understand. Not only do I understand, but I might have to watch that a little bit more often. So, tuck that away in the mental Rolodex for something. So, mine was just like self-discovery for the most part, and then just therapy, taking it up another level once I accepted myself.
The one thing I love for me that was so good in with finding kink, and again, I would never say kink is for everybody, because it's not. You have to really want it, because it can be scary sometimes.
Mm.
But I remember when I first started, I had one kink. This was the thing I wanted. This is all I wanted. And now, 10 years later, I have it's a shorter list of what I'm not into than what I am into, basically. But the one thing that really helped me was finding people that I could be just like. So I have a group of friends. We play board games. We get together and play board games once a month. But and they're really good friends. They're people I love hanging out with. I spend time with. But at the same time, when we're sitting around the board game table, sometimes we're naked, sometimes we're getting blowjobs,
Oh
sometimes we're having
yes.
sex, sometimes we're just fooling around with each other's body and being kinky around a table. Like, well, I was just talking about, like, I gave a friend of mine a foot job at the last game, while his husband was just right there watching, and we were just playing board games, and it's not like, it's not to say like what that well that's wild and crazy, but the point is like it's releasing, it's relax, it's so invigorating and just freeing to think, yeah, these people, one, they don't want me just for sex, they actually enjoy me, but they actually do also want to fool around with me, and that's kind of a cool thing to me, especially like,
Mhm.
not to, I'm going to age myself, being in my mid 40s, some of these guys who are going with me are like mid 20s, and I'm like,
Oh
that
wow.
fucking that feels great, I'm like, so, and so yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that, at least what for me in the kink world, that kind of really kind of helped me, was seeing that it's not like I thought it was growing up in the church, where you never talk about sex and you only have sex with the lights out in missionary. It can be a
Mm.
thing that, it can be a thing that you talk about or you don't talk about it, but it doesn't matter because we're not uncomfortable either way.
Hmm.
So, am I the only person that's like, when's the next game night, bitch? 'Cause,
First of all,
like,
I want to know the rules to this, because how do we incorporate this? Like, are y'all just playing Monopoly, and then if you roll doubles, you get a foot job? Like, I don't. I'm trying
No,
to
bitch.
figure it out.
no, we just sit around the table, and I know this particular friend has a foot fetish, and
Mm.
it's a kink we both kind of share, and I know he enjoys that. So we're just sitting around, and for one reason or another, because it just happens, he was in nothing but a jock. So, and he was sitting right next to me, so I just put my foot up and started playing with him, and I told him, take your underwear off, and he did, and he came on my feet, basically.
Oh, okay. We love
Interesting.
to see
I
it.
just
We
didn't
love
know if there
to
was
see it.
rules to this, because I'm
No,
thinking, are we playing Uno, and then all of a sudden, draw four plus this? Like, what's going on?
no, it's not like strip Monopoly or anything.
Got it.
It's kind of like it's our side game while we're playing the main. As long as it doesn't interrupt the main game, because it wasn't. They were playing a game, and like it was his turn, and he stopped for a second, did his turn, came back, and did more.
Interesting.
Mm,
Okay.
I love it.
All right.
Like, I'm trying to like, you're giving me inspiration, and I love it.
Right.
Come to Boston. I'll invite you to the
Couples
next game.
night, party nights, and things like that. Yes.
Okay, because
Game
I'm
night
trying to
after dark.
like,
Hmm.
let me find out. Let's see, my journey. So I would say overall, I was always like a self-reflective motherfucker. So I've always sat with myself to understand things, to reflect on different things, which honestly helped me with rationalizing a lot. But I will say there's like rationalizing is a gift and a curse, because it is great when you're able to find the good in all the great things, or even the bad things. But sometimes you can easily rationalize your feelings away and not feel them. And that is one of the things that
Interesting.
I'm actually exploring right now in therapy, is reconnecting with my emotions, reconnecting with feeling things authentically and embracing it, rather than being quick to be like, oh, it is what it is, blah, 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 or finding all the justifications of why a certain person did a certain thing and all these other things, rather than just feeling in the moment that I'm angry or I'm upset, or even just that I'm happy about the experience that I just had. Um, Now, overall in therapy, and I know well, like sexually, I've spoken on it in the past about like when I first started having sex, how my body count went from 0 to like 10 or 8, whatever the number was. And with that, it helped me realize that, okay, what are you doing? Why are you so hyper fixated on sex? Why are you not being as smart as you can be? Or why is it that you're prioritizing sex and not prioritizing the things that you're supposed to do? Again, this is me having those great conversations with myself, but that brought me to a point where I had to take a break, which is going to be something that we'll be talking about next. But I had to take a break from sex. I had to take a break from hookup apps, trying to meet up with people and doing things, or all the things. And that brought me to a place of understanding that maybe my actions were this way because I was acting out of a place of hurt, or acting out of a place of wanting validation from other people, and the only way I could receive that is through sex, because on some level we are taught that sex is a thing to show that you are beautiful. Sex is a thing to show that you are amazing. Sex is something that shows you that you have a true skill. I think about I love that line in Hotels where I forgot. I think it's Amanda's Tale, where old girl was like, "Sex is her superpower," and I resonated with that because honestly, it is my superpower. But at the end of the day, you have to reserve who you save. Most definitely, if sex is the thing, you cannot be out here willing to save any and every person and give that gift to somebody, and they're not showing themselves worthy of you actually stepping in to save them. I guess will be the best way to put it, since we're using superhero terms. But you have to reflect on, is this meant for me? Is this somebody that I want to engage in? Is this something that will bring wholeness to me? And that's also something that I'm working on right now, is respecting my own boundaries a lot more, because there has been times, going off of the rationalization thing, where I will rationalize having a flexible boundary with people rather than a rigid or sturdy boundary with them. And because of the flexibility, I will end up sending myself into situations that were not beneficial for me, or engaging with people who did not really love me the way I wanted them to love me, or respect me the way I wanted to be respected. So now, where I'm at now, in trying my best to honor that, I'm able to isolate or remove those people who are just there to waste my time, those people who are not as serious, those people who are just there just to sexualize me, or just they love the thought of having me and not the
Mhm.
appreciation of me in my body. So that has helped tremendously. Now, in terms of kinks, I will say that I have been working on some things there as well. Like, recently somebody shared an app with me. It's a weird app. It's an anonymous hookup app. But with that, there's like cruising things like that. So I actually participated, like, cruising, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I don't know how this stuff works. I don't get the thrill of it because I will see that online and all those other things. But I will say, in the process of downloading that app and going to more sex positive and open spaces, it helped me realize that, I might, though I am very out there and open and sexually liberated in a sense, that there is still another level to that. Like, there's still other things that I may be open to and comfortable with and wanting to explore, but I need to open myself to those opportunities. Like, I was speaking with somebody earlier today about how I have yet to go to a dungeon, and that's something that I'm looking to change. So it's like those kind of things, or even going to like a sex party or a play party. Still looking for one, but at the end of the day, it's just like, what is the things that's best for me? What things are serving me? And also figuring out spaces that also makes me feel comfortable, because I recognize that, well, we live in the society that we live in, so not all people are welcome in all spaces. Most definitely, with this body oriented, like, that big bodies are not often welcome in all sex spaces as well. So it's like, what is a space that I can curate for myself, and what is something that's already available for me to enjoy and learn and grow and appreciate. So it's been at where I'm at now, it's been a amazing way of seeing the boundaries that I have for myself at first, and what limits I set for my own experiences and exploration. And now I'm in the process of exceeding that, and I'm just, enjoying that ride now.
And it's
Nice.
about being happy with yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was actually, I just recently started seeing this guy. It was kind of new to certain kinks, and we started talking, and it's not a kink I have a lot of. I have some experience with it, but it's not a kink I have a lot of experience with. But when he's like, "Well, this is what I'm into," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's hot," I'm playing with it. I'm going with it. I'm like, "This is you like this. I want to do this. I want to be there with you for this the whole way." And he's like, "I'm not used to people being, except for other people who are into the kink." He's like, "I'm not used to people being okay with it." I'm like, "Well, that's kind of the point. Is to
Mm.
like." You want to embrace each other. You want to be comfortable with each other. And yes, I understand that not all kinks, or not everyone has to have the same kinks, and not everyone has to like the same kinks. It's kind of
Mhm.
partly why we opened our relationship, because we have some different kinks that we want to explore with other people. But it's not about necessarily just doing that. It's about making those connections and making people happy and feel comfortable. Like, at least for me, and I tell people, like, this is how I consider myself more of a dom in the whole kink community. Um, the way I tell people how that I dom is, I'm there to facilitate the subs fantasy. Like, in my world, yes, the dom is the one that's doing the whipping, doing the spanking, doing the stuff. They're the one in control of the scene, but the sub is the one who's in control of the relationship.
Mm.
Right.
And it's my job to make sure, and I did not do a good job unless my sub or my boy walked away satisfied with what happened. And I will be the first one to ask feedback so I can change better. And that's what it should be. And that's how all kink should be. So, like, talking about, just kind of trying new and seeing what you're into, or whether or not you want to do this full time, or be fully into kink, or just like what your experiences are. These are the experiences you should have. And unfortunately, these are not the experiences that you're gonna have.
Mm.
Because there's a lot of people out there who don't have the same mindset, who don't, who, in my opinion, practice kink poorly. I don't want to say wrong, because I don't think you can really practice kink wrong, but they practice it poorly. Um, and they can potentially sour it. But if you can find people that have the right attitude, have your attitude, and you need to walk in with your attitude, even if you are on the subby side. Like, I've had subs be like, "Look, at this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and I will tell you if you cross a line." And I'm like, fucking great. I want you to tell me. I want your opinion. I want to hear what you think, what you feel, what you want, because it's, yes, the scene may be about me doing this, but it's not about me. It's about
Mm.
you, but more importantly, it's really about us.
Right.
See, you said a word there, because I know, like, for myself, when it comes to engaging with people, even when it's like just a casual hookup and people start to describe who they are, what they like, and all these other things, and the first thing that they say is, "Oh, I'm dominant," and I'm like, "Okay, what does dominant mean to you?" And for them, it's more of being aggressive and all these other things, and I'm like, that's not something that I can rock with, because for myself, not that I cannot handle aggression, I just don't know what aggression means to you, or I don't know exactly how you portray that aggression. Are you going to be like, even today, someone said that I'm a dominant personality. Well, I'm just a dominant. And I was like, well, I can't rock with you. And he asked why. And I was like, because most of the time, most definitely in the area that I am right now, that whenever someone says that they're dominant, they're not willing to listen to the other person. They think that they
Hmm.
have to be in control of everything. And I'm like, if I cannot have a voice in the situation, within the hookup, within our sexual encounter, we're not going to hook up, because I
Hmm.
want to ensure that my safety is always um, at the forefront. I want to be sure that if I were to be submissive to you, that you will respect my yeses, my nos, my hesitations, or I need to be sure that whenever we do engage in whatever sexual experience that we have, that you're going to respect all of what I offer and what I bring. If that's not going to be the case, then I don't want to be with you. I don't want to hook up with you. I don't want to do any of those things with you, because I will not feel safe in that. I need to know that there's going to be mutual respect within our sexual encounter. And most definitely, because I am a switch, I understand on both sides of that. where if I am to be in a dominant role, I'm not the person that's truly in control. Like you said, Wes, it is up to that sub to maintain the relationship and create and let me know what their safety concerns are and what they're not comfortable with doing. And if I were to go beyond that boundary, I know that I am the person who fucked up the relationship, fucked up the scene, fucked up everything that we could have had within that encounter. And as a sub, I also understand that I have the power in this. And if you're not going to respect the power that I have in that, yes, you're facilitating the pleasure. But if you're not respecting the power that I have as a sub in this, why are we here?
And
Mhm.
honestly, you brought. I'm sorry, Nicole. I'm
No, go
overwhelmed with
ahead.
conversation. But two points to what you said. One is it's a better scene when the sub trusts you.
Mm,
And if you can't have that trust, and it's a better scene when the dom trusts you as well. But when there's that mutual trust and mutual respect, like if I go into a scene with somebody, I want them to know 100% that if they say stop, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to cross a line that I'm not allowed to cross. I'm not going to do something that they said specifically they do not like. I will push your limits because that's what a dom does. But I will ultimately never push you beyond what you're okay with, and
Right.
they need to know that. And when they know that, they trust me. And when they trust me, they can release better and release more, and it becomes for everybody is such a much better experience, a much better encounter. Because the whole point of dom submission is like have the submissive wants to submit, they want to release, they want to let go. And if they're
Mhm.
worried that you're not going to stop when they say to stop, they can't let go you know, and kind of to a point you said earlier, like whenever I have someone I meet, and I ask, well, what are you into? They say, oh, I like dom sub stuff. I'm like, well, one, that's a stupid thing because that's what all kink is, dom sub stuff. But I always say to them, I'm like, what does that look like to you?
Mhm.
Because it looks different to people. Like you said, you're not into aggression. There are some people are, and that's good for them. And there's a dom out there for them. But there's people
Mhm.
like I don't want those people. Like I've talked to guys like, what does submission look like? Oh, I want you to beat me into this is a probably not a match, not my style, and that's okay. But whenever anyone says I'm into this, I'm into like dom sub, I'm into BDSM, I'm into this, what is it? Tell me what it looks like to you. What kind of dom are you looking for? This is the kind of sub I'm looking for. What kind of dom are you looking for? And to see if we mesh, because if we don't, it's not gonna work. Like if I'm a soft daddy and they want me to be very aggressive, they're not really gonna have as much fun.
Mhm.
And same if I'm a hardcore spanker, say fuck you, I don't care about your opinion, and you want someone to cuddle you, you're definitely not gonna have fun.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. And that's part of what I was going to say. Honestly, this is kind of a red flag for me if someone says that, oh, I'm a dominant, I'm an alpha, I'm a this, I'm a that, because what they, if you're going to use that straight out the gate, I feel like you actually don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Right. Um, so if you're going to tell me like, oh, well, I'm a dominant or I'm naturally this, typically, like you were saying, they're I feel like the first place that they're going to go to is the more like brash, aggressive, like I'm not really going to listen to you, or what you say doesn't matter, or not understanding the true dom sub relationship, what that's supposed to look like, understanding that while they are in control of the scene, like you said, Wes, versus the submissive person is actually the one who is in control of the relationship. Like shit don't go round unless the sub says yes or no on that. But at the same time, you both have to mutually agree to what those terms are, what everything looks like. So that's one thing that, I mean, not to shit on 50 Shades of Grey, but I'm going to have to.
No,
please
It's
do.
please shit
not.
all
Shit
over it,
all over it.
all over it.
Like
Fuck
it's
bird
that.
caca,
it's
shit
such
all over that.
like
Like,
it's such a terrible movie or a terrible story when you're trying to introduce or even show that this is what these two people are into, because in that, yes, Christian Grey's a dom and he does all this stuff and the choking, the blindfolding, da da da, which is great, but it doesn't show what this is about. Obviously there was a whole dynamic of that character, past traumas himself, et cetera, et cetera. But it doesn't truly show you what that truly is supposed to look like and what that's supposed to be about. You know, poor, what's her name? I want to say Anastasia, right? Whatever the girl's name is. Poor her, young, impressionable, don't know what the fuck none of this is, but is attracted to this powerful man and, pretty much gets duped into and forced into this dom sub relationship, and she doesn't truly understand. Yes, she spoke up for herself here and there, whatever, but she didn't truly understand what any of this means other than him being like, I'm supposed to take care of you, da da da. And she's like, I mean, okay, I mean, I kind of like it, but do you really like that shit though? Like, do you even understand what that's supposed to be? Was there a contract? Was there any kind of like, what's your safe word or whatever the case? Like, that's not, it gives such a terrible view of what that is supposed to look like, and even understanding that BDSM as a whole is not linear. Like, it's huge. There's so much that goes that's involved with that. And like you said, you could be a soft daddy, you could be a hard daddy. This person could be a bratty little. This person can be just, I just want to be a little that colors and does, meaningless shit all day, because like you said, they have to be trusting enough. They have to trust you enough so that they can get into this space and get rid of control. Most people don't know that people who are submissives are in their everyday life are the people who are always in control of something. They're always a boss. They need this as the outlet so that they can be not the person in charge all of the time, But also on the other side of things, huh?
I said preach.
Oh, but on the other side of things, if you are someone who is a dominant, typically you're someone who is like, I'm not in control all day. I'm always having to listen to someone else. I have this built up whatever, and I need to be able to release that also, but also still be able to have that sub side so that you can properly care for your sub, so that most dominants should know how to be a sub also, be soft and caring and all of this, because you need that side so that you can take care of who your sub is. So most people don't know that. So 50 Shades of Grey showed you like, hey, here's my sex room with all kinds of toys and God knows what. And people can, if this is their first introduction, they can get so intimidated by that, and they're like, oh, I am not doing none of that shit. I'm not doing it. But not even understanding that so many people take part in different parts of kink and BDSM already. Breath play, impact play. You like to get smacked on the ass, you like to get smacked on the face. Guess what you're doing right now? You like to have the feathers all over you, sensation play. You like to be choked and stuff like that, asphyxiation play or breath play. All of these things are part of that. You just don't even know that these are the different things. It does not need to be handcuffs, chains, ropes, and all of this stuff, unless you like that shit. But it doesn't need to be all of these things that you see portrayed in media that is completely wrong and no real education behind it. It's not that. And that's why we're here. All that to say, that's why we're here. To help you learn this stuff.
I always say about when it comes to the 50 Shades of Disgusting is, I'm glad it's a thing because it kind of helped shine a light on kink. It kind of it made it slightly more mainstream. However, I hate it because it shined the wrong light on kink. It showed you it showed people how kink should not be done. But the problem is the people that I was showing that to didn't understand that's not how kink it's not supposed to be done. They thought that's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be this guy who takes over your life, who controls you, who forces you. And that's not good. Kink is not that. Yes, I have friends who are like 100% total power exchange submissives, that they serve their partner hand over foot, but that's what they want to do. And they enjoy it, and they've agreed to it, and they basically signed a contract with each other of what that was. It's not a forced thing.
Contracts are important, guys.
Yeah, contracts are very important. But it's not a forced thing. It's not something that you're trying to push on somebody. It's something that they want to do as well. Now, if you want to know, go get the Essentials Guide on How to Be a Hoe.
Right. Let's go ahead and segue into that. The Sexual Journal, A New Sexual You, is amazing. It's also an adult coloring book. Go
It's
ahead
only
and color whilst
$15.
you see. Right, color whilst you write out your thoughts, y'all.
I'm
Like
so
it's
done.
great stuff. I actually have that one, so I actually enjoyed that. So
Thank you. No, I had to put it up there because I was like, I need to remember to actually advertise for this because I'm going to do the YouTube video. So I'm like, at least that could pop up. I hope it
mhm.
does be in the recording so people be like, okay, let me scan that now.
Right.
But mm, y'all spoke words. Y'all spoke words. And side note, I might as well go ahead and mention that the tequila as well as the port hit like 5 minutes ago, and I just been feeling it and just riding that wave.
He's like,
I
I'm
love
so
that
drunk,
for
I don't
you.
even hear what you're saying anymore.
I'm here for everything, but no, like the 50 Shades of. I like that you said 50 Shades of Disgusting
It's
because,
disgusting.
like I don't know what else to say after. Like that's a perfect name, but yeah, it really does give off the wrong image of what kink life is because there's so much consent that is related to participating in kink, and when you watch that film you're just like, oh well, I guess he just rules her. Is that what we signed up for? I just met this motherfucker and I'm supposed to give all my life to this? Like, what are we doing? Like, that is not. And I will for like I will forever tell people, most definitely, when they're going into that journey and learning more about kink, and I let them know that kink is like the ultimate form of consent. You have to have these conversations with the person that you're engaging with, that you have to talk to them about your safety, your hard nose, your soft yes, your soft nose, your full on green flags, your yeses, and go from there. It's a whole conversation about what you're engaging in with this person and getting to know them and getting to know what they want to experience within their sexual environment. And I think, like, I love that there's a lot more people who are expressing themselves a little bit more openly, that they're willing to engage in the things that they find kinky. But I also think that something that's missing within that conversation is that
The
not
conversation.
everybody's going to be in right the conversation, that not everybody's going to be on that same wave that you are on. Like, even this weekend, there was somebody who wanted to hook up with me, and I was like, I'm not into public play. The public play that they were looking into, I was like, I'm not into that. But like, I'm not trying to engage in that in any way. But hey, if you are interested in like something a little bit more intimate or something a little bit more private, that's always an option. Most definitely, since I'm here, I have a room, we can meet up, blah 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 blah. But they're like, they just kept trying to push the public play aspect of that, and I'm just like, you know that this is not going to change. Now, I get some people outside of me may succumb to the peer pressure of it all. Most definitely, if they're horny, and for those people who have not heard it on the podcast yet, and also for those who are waiting for that episode to release for November. Horniness is a motherfucking drug, okay? It is a drug. I snort that stuff sometime, and it always gets me a little bit crazy. I do not recommend. Do not pass go. Do not go around
Not
with trash
snort it.
can. Girl, you know you gotta snort horniness. Horniness. You know you gotta snort that shit. You do not shoot horniness. It's a
Not
it's a straight up.
snort it.
It's a
That's
straight up.
wild.
It's straight up the nose. You don't smoke horniness. You do not take that as a pill, bitch. You snort that shit.
You know what? As
Like,
soon as you said that, as soon as you made the snorting thing motion, the first thing I thought of was Scarface when he had the pile of cocaine. Not
I'm
even the
done.
lines, bro. Like just the pile of it and just snorting the whole thing. That's what I saw you do just now. That's
I've
exactly
been
what
that horny guy.
Listen,
The big pile of horny in front of me that I just had to shove my face into. Yeah, I've been there.
okay, like
hilarious.
it's the drug. That is
It is.
it's the only drug I could think of. Like, well, the only method of ingesting that seems appropriate. Because I don't see myself shooting up horniness. Like, that
You
takes
need it now.
time. You
You
need it
need it
now. You
now.
need that shit immediately. Well, you can
Hmm.
also, never mind. We're not talking about how you can distribute drugs within your body so that you can get high quicker. We're not talking
No,
about that on this
no, we
podcast.
won't.
This is wrong one.
But also, honestly, even though I know you said like horniness is a drug in a very kind of a lighthearted way, it's true because, and this is something that I try to tell people, like you don't want to, if you have a negotiation for a scene, never renegotiate in the middle of the scene because that horniness affects your brain in a way that it may cause you to want to do things you're not ready for, you're not able to do, and your body can't handle. So
Right.
you say it is very much a drug because it does alter the way you think and the way your body works very strongly.
It does. It really does. Like I think about all the crazy shit that I've done just because I was horny.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saved from that? I am not. The Lord is still doing work on me. Oh my God. It's a process. I'm in therapy for it. Like I'm just trying to do wherever I can. I'm managing out here in these streets. But it's one hell of a drug. I will say that.
That's
And it's a drug I
hilarious.
will happily go back for over and over again.
And will and snort the fuck out of that.
Oh,
Oh God.
I need to make a meme out of this. That's so funny.
Listen, are we doing a line tonight? That's all I need to know. Are we doing a line? And I'm not talking about cocaine, y'all. Granted, I will do it once, but that's different. Are we doing a
That's a
line of
different vibe.
horniness? Are we doing a line of horniness? I just need to know.
the
It's
only
still
way to
early.
the only way to do a line of horniness is off someone's ass, though.
There.
Mm.
It's
What
right
about the
at. It's perfect.
tits? It
Hmm?
is the weekend, and for anybody who knows, the weekend is when the titties be free.
Fair.
So,
Okay, I'll horniness should only be done snorted off of other person's body.
oh.
That's fair.
I like that. I like that. Now, I will be honest, even though it is free titties, I think I might snort it off the ass cheeks too.
It's gotta
No.
be. It's gotta be nice ones though. Just saying.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Okay, will anybody snort the horniness off a dick?
I'll do a
Let's.
lot of things off of there.
I'm fucking done.
Oh, I love Wes's commentary because he's so calm and so subtle with things, and he was like,
Right.
"Hello, me." What? I did not expect that from your face, but yeah, that's funny.
Listen. Well, since I did mention Hovember, by the way, every person on this episode right now, we did like 2 episodes during Hovember. So y'all check that
And it's
out.
probably gonna be two of your best episodes, not to
Hmm.
our own horn here, but those are gonna be the
Oh,
best
toot your
too.
horn. Poop,
Yeah,
boop, boop, boop.
not to have a little humble pie, but we were fucking fantastic.
And
We were those two ever because I told somebody about it and they're like, oh, when is that coming out? I said, oh, it's not until November. Hello, November. But I'll send y'all the link. It's real good. But yeah, those
Hmm.
two episodes probably were my most fun.
it was such a good time. And here we
Hmm.
are.
Hmm.
Here we are
Yeah.
on a live.
Talking about snorting horny off of asses.
Right? I
That's
will
what.
I'm still debating on when I'm going to release this because I'm like, I feel like I want to do it before November, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I'm just like, that gray area when I'm on break. Should I do a little bit something extra? But I know for a fact my ass is not going to do anything extra after November. I'm not.
No.
Mhm.
I don't
Probably
see it
not.
in my futuro. I do not. Oh, I'm trying to get
I
better at
think that
Spanish.
I think my answer to that is probably like one of our topics on here, which is be kind with yourself.
Oh,
Be kind to
yes.
yourself. Don't do too much. Do what you can. The rest will come.
Wait, random question that has absolutely nothing to do with the what we're recording right now. Let me just put this little essential guide on how to be a whole thing back up here. I hate that it's covering your face, Nicole. I really do. I don't like that. Oh,
Oh,
oh, you looking so gorgeous.
she
Oh,
can work the
bitch.
screen. Look at
You
her.
better
Thank
like. Oh my
you.
god.
Thank
Oh,
you. Thank you. Please, more, please.
Chile. Yes.
She's
By
like,
the
I know how
way,
to frame. I know I got this.
Huh?
right?
He's like, oh no,
I
so you gonna put it up? I'll just be over here. Is that better?
Get the
no,
sexy
no, you're
lean
good.
going.
You're good. All right, there we go. Now it's off. Now I will say, can y'all see the private chat?
I'm not seeing
Like,
any chat.
Yeah,
Oh, the
I
private chat,
put
yes.
myself on. Oh yeah, I can
okay,
now.
just want to make sure that y'all saw that I posted that up in there, and the rundown and everything. But anyways, outside of that, because Nicole mentioned it earlier, yeah, I saw her. I met her in person last week. It was so
That was a good
amazing, y'all.
time.
I like we're on a tangent right now, so if you're new to the Heauxliloquy podcast, we do tangents, and tangents be
Lots of
real.
them.
Like we were off topic like 30 minutes ago, and we're still off topic. We'll get back to other things in a second. We got like a good 2 hours here,
Yeah,
but
y'all got time.
it
Y'all got
says to
time.
nine. I don't think we're gonna make it to nine. I'll be honest. Like the tequila already hit, but so I'm not going to be wild. I'm not going to be as crazy as I was on our live. Nicole, don't judge me. Don't
Lame.
judge me. I saw the face. I saw it all.
I
But
wasn't thinking about the live. I was thinking of our night. That's what I was thinking about when we saw each other.
girl,
Because
but really though,
that was really so much fun though.
it was so much fucking fun. Minus, that first place we went. Well, no, the second place, because the first place was when we got food. That second place, it was all
It was
right.
all
It
right.
was all right.
It definitely wasn't giving what all the reviews were saying that it should be. And maybe it's just because we're black and we were looking for a specific vibe. And even though we knew it was gonna be everybody, it really wasn't everybody. And so the vibe
Yeah,
was just kind of like it reminded me of like 80s, 90s gay bar, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
you have to be in the
I was
mood
looking
for
for
it.
it to be, huh?
I say you have to be in the mood for what we experience.
Yeah, you have to be in the mood for that. I was looking for better music, a little bit more excitement, et cetera, et cetera. It really wasn't. So we went to the patio where the weather was beautiful and, we saw what we could see. And then we're just like, so we're leaving? We're
Right?
out? Hey.
Girl, I still cannot get over that line of motherfuckers that we saw. When I tell you,
Oh,
I snorted some horniness in that moment because I was not fucking. I told my neo, I was like, look, I don't double take on any motherfucker that I see out and about. I really don't because I don't be caring like that. But if I turn all of my motherfucking neck to look at you walk past. Oh my fucking goodness. Oh, I
Mm.
could not.
was that at the last place you talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
you know
The
the
what?
one.
Okay. So
Wesley.
whilst we're in this place, I'm like, I see a few people, and I'm just like, I wonder what your type is. So I'm like, Vernon, what is your type? And the wrong thing to tell me. I don't really have a type. Oh, you don't? Bet. What about this one? What about? And I kept pointing out so many people. I'm just like, damn it. I would definitely hop on that one too. Damn it, we're in the wrong spot for this. But yeah, it was a fun night of people watching at the very least. Did you
Yes.
send that picture to your friend?
I did. And he slid it. Well, so this let's talk about it. Okay, so
I feel like I need
all right.
popcorn.
Right. All right.
Get you a
Let me
snack.
give
Get you a
let
snack,
me give
Wes.
some backstory for everybody here who's going to be listening to this once it's released. So I have a friend. He and I we are kind of like doing the little casual dating thing, and he has certain people that he's interested in, and I'm like, okay, cool. And one of those people kept seeing every time I went to a bar, and I didn't know exactly which bar it was. I selected the wrong bar. He was like, "Bitch, who goes there?" And I was like, "Ooh, okay." It obviously it's the place where we are now. This is where you frequent. I'm glad that we have this understanding now. But
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, I asked dude, well, not the dude I'm talking to. What's his name? Let's give him his. So dude I'm talking to, we're going to call him Fred, and the person that he likes, let's call them Stan. So Stan was out here at the bar, right? And I see Stan. I'm like, I know you. So I'm like, Stan, we need to take a picture because I have this a friend who really does like you. Like he finds you extremely attractive, and he will not believe that I saw you if I told you. Because last time I told him, told Fred that I saw him at a bar, he was like, "No way, you did. No, not at all." I was like, "Bitch," but I did. So I need to get the proof. So look, Fred just texted me. Uh, he knew I was talking about him. Oh, he is watching right now. I am so
That's
done. Yes, I am
funny.
talking about you, Fred.
Hi,
Yes.
Fred.
Hey, Fred. He said he's
Hi,
weak.
Fred.
So I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm going to make sure. When I saw Stan, I was like, bitch, I need to take this picture. What's going on? Like, so I took the picture. I sent it to Fred, and I was like, make sure you DM this motherfucker. Why is it Stan was not even following Fred? I'm like, bitch, how you gonna pull up this motherfucker's not IG, his Twitter page, like off the rip? Like it wasn't even 3 fucking seconds. He already has his motherfucker's page up, and you not following my friend? Bitch, why you not following? You need to follow today. So
Right.
yeah, Stan, he need to do better. Stan do better. But so
That was cute though. I
oh,
see why you like him, Fred.
right, Fred, good choice, good choice. So we'll see. I hope things. Someone needs to moderate the YouTube chat. I am not looking at the YouTube chat.
Yeah,
What
I
the
can't even
fuck
see
is
it
going on over there? Um, let me.
because it'd
I'll
be
get
funny. It
over
stands
here,
in there right now. I'd crack up.
bro. If Stan is in the YouTube chat, I will be wilding. Hey Stan. Oh God. All right. So y'all carry on while I look over here at the YouTube chat to see whatever the fuck is going on over here. Oh, I just remember I brought this off topic. So to get back on topic, um let's see. Taking a break from sex. Now, just to because I give my own personal story. I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, and then I'll let y'all jump into that. I know, like, as I mentioned earlier on, when I recognized like my body count went extremely up, I was like, okay, I need to like do some reflection, and I took a 2.5 year break from engaging in sex with anybody. I chose that because I knew that for me, I wanted to be able to host people, be able to provide a space for myself that I felt safe in, that I felt secure in, as well as be able to know exactly why I'm engaging with other people and what I was looking to get out of sex, be it for. I need to stop looking at my phone because Fred is wild. But why am I like, what am I looking for? What do I want from a person? Am I ready to be in a relationship with anybody? Am I just looking for sex? Am I looking for a connection with somebody, but nothing that's extremely intimate? So that 2.5 years break allowed me an opportunity to reflect on those things, and I do not regret doing that because it helped me see that first and foremost, where I was at the time, I was not ready for any kind of serious relationship. It's don't hit me up saying, "Oh, I want to be your boyfriend," because I'm going to let you know I'm not. I'm not going to be that. I don't have the funds to go out on a date. I don't have the funds to even travel to you or even to see you whenever you want to see me, or I don't have the living arrangements where we can be intimate together. And if you don't have that, then that means neither one of us can be able to do that. Because I knew at that time, at that age that I was, that I did not want to be out doing public play because first and foremost, from that body count going all the way up to 8, I almost went to jail. And that's a story for another day. We're not talking about that tonight. And I think I said something about it on the podcast. Y'all could go listen to that episode, and we're not going back into that, okay?
Not
But,
almost going to jail, Vernon.
girl, the only reason I got out of the jail is because I like women. Let's put it that way. I actually have a like for women rather than I will treat women like dogs. That's the only reason I did not go to jail that night. Thank you, Officer Black Man. I don't know who his name is, but I know he was a black man. And shout out to him and his daughter. And I think he was trying to have me date his daughter. If she's still available, I am single for the most part. Uh,
I'm done with you today already.
that was the tequila.
I was gonna say, who was that today? Taylor? Was that your girl?
Girl,
Mm-mm.
Taylor said open it wide open. That's what Taylor always
Mm-mm.
says. So after this call, who knows what's going to happen? But
Snoring that horniness in a
listen,
pile. That's what you're
off
doing.
the ass cheeks and the dick. There we go. Hallelujah. Maybe
Mm-mm.
some pussy too. Who knows? Who the fuck knows?
Mm-mm.
Fuck it. Snort it off yourself if you really have to. No one's
Shut.
judging.
See, I was about
Listen,
to
you know
lift
what?
up a titty and just do that, and I was like, we cannot do that on the YouTube streets.
You know what though? I know which personality is speaking tonight.
Which?
Thotimus, what's up? How are
Why
you?
are we back to Thotimus?
Because
Why are we back to
because what did
Thotimus?
you just say not 2 minutes ago? I might be snorting horniness off of ass, dick, maybe pussy too. That is Thotimus behavior. What's going on? How are you?
Pause.
Mm,
Pause. Is my
mm.
name on Instagram still Thotimus Prime?
No, you changed it. You changed it
Okay.
back.
Okay. Are
Time
you
to
sure
change
it's
it back though.
Thotimus? Why? I've been
Because
good.
this is who is speaking tonight. That's who this is. That's yeah.
Okay, I'll see if I could change my name on here so people know
No,
exactly who's
you're
talking.
being proper on your Instagram right now, Dr. Vernon T. Scott. Mm-mm. Change it.
Heather. Heather. Anyways, what are y'all takeaways as it relates to like? Wait, why is the YouTube chats not coming up? I'll figure it out. But anyways, what is y'all's sentiment as it relates to taking a break?
I think taking a break could be important. I mean, I talked about that from my own journey too. I mean, similar to what you did. I had to do that. I had to stop for a minute because I can't like that whole terrible ass adage about getting over someone by getting under someone else is so
Mm,
fucking terrible. Because if you haven't dealt with whatever it is that happened to you, and then you're going with someone else, whether it's just for a hookup or trying to find yourself in a relationship, whether on purpose or accidentally, all you're going to be doing is projecting the shit that just happened to you to this other person. You might be, even if it is just a hookup, if it was something terrible, like somebody cheated on you and you were so angry, you might be hate fucking this person that don't even know what's going on with you. And they're thinking that that's who you normally are. And that's not fair to either of you. So I had to do the same thing. I mean, not because of the hate fucking thing, but just because I knew that I needed to figure out what I needed for myself. Like those needs I can handle myself for right now. Trust me, there were definitely days where I'm just like, I need the warm embrace. I need the body weight. I need the this, that, and the third. But it was more important to me to take that break because I was like, if I'm gonna break some cycles and not keep dealing with the same kind of person all the time and sitting here wondering how come I keep attracting this terrible ass type of person or attitude or whatever the case is, I need to take some time and really be like, okay, what are we allowing that we shouldn't be allowing? Or why, am I looking for love in all the wrong places, etc., all them cliche ass shit. But that's real though. Like that kind of like sex can cloud your judgment. But going back
mm,
to what you were originally talking about, like those are the times that if you are in therapy or speaking to somebody professionally, that you need to have these conversations with that person, and be like, I'm thinking about this or I'm thinking about that and I'm kind of taking a break. I'm not necessarily being celibate, if without putting a label on it, but I'm just taking a break right now. Like sometimes, like you said, snoring that horniness, when downstairs want to be talking more than your upstairs mind. Sometimes you got to find that balance because the bitch will make you reckless, and we don't need those types of things while we are healing. So taking that break sometimes is necessary, unless you are the kind of
mm,
person or you're at a place where you can totally separate a sexual experience or a sexual encounter with somebody from everything else that's going on. So most people like to say that that's true, but these are also the same people who think that they're not toxic and don't have as many red flags as the person they were dealing with. So that aside,
I do have to say though, a good consensual hate fuck is amazing.
mm,
consensual being the key term
That's the
there.
key word. Yes, so
Yeah.
it should be the key word in every situation. But yes,
Hmm.
a good hate fuck. Oh my God, that when you both mutually taking that aggression out, fuck. Um, for me, I agree. I think I think you sometimes you just need to. I think sometimes you just need to take a step back from not only from sex, but even from yourself. Like and I think sometimes you'll have. I think you can find more fun, more experiences when you do that. Like for me, my encounters. I love sex. I love having sex. I think it feels amazing. It's great. But for me, it's not my encounters are not about sex. It's about enjoyment. It's about mutual enjoyment. And I tell people if oh, sorry, getting distracted by the lower thirds.
I'm sorry.
um, for me, if I don't have sex, if I don't come, that's fine, as long as everyone's had a great time. And like I don't. So I think people put too much emphasis on the actual act of sex, and not enough emphasis on what it what it means, how it feels, and not only that, but like how it feels to connect with somebody. You know, I can very easily, like I've learned many years ago, to turn off my emotions when it comes to sexual encounters. I can have sex and not feel it. I can do that. But I don't like to. you know, I was I was just talking to someone the other day. I was saying like, I like, I can do that, but I would rather get emotionally involved, even a little bit. I'm not saying I want to fall in love and have marry you and everything, but I want to have an emotional attachment. And what that means is a lot of times that means that when things don't work out, I get hurt more, and I get hurt worse. But it's better. But that's the part that I think people need to understand. I don't think it's necessarily about taking a break from sex. It's about taking a break, like I said, from yourself and learning what you're actually looking for.
Hmm.
And sometimes you can have way more fun without the sex. I mean, I can show you many ways to tease somebody for hours, and both of you walk away satisfied, and not a single one of you came.
Right. That mind fuck is important for sure.
Absolutely.
Chile. There's somebody that immediately came to mind when you said mind fucking. Hmm. But no, I will have to say that like I do agree. Like I think that's one of the things I love so much about sexuality is the many facets that it shows. Like I don't mind blindfolding a partner and whispering in their ears, telling them a whole ass story about all the freaky things that I would do to them. Mind you, I'm not going to do any of those things in that moment. But
Hmm.
just the thought process of knowing that this is what I will and can do to you, and having them sit in that moment and experience that for some time, oh my motherfucking goodness. Yes. It's a good thing. It is such like I do enjoy me a good sapiosexual. I'm not even gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Not going
Hmm.
like
Same.
let me fuck your mind. Let me toy with you, make you experience a lot of different things that you want to experience physically, but you have to think about that. You have to think about you and I engaging in this experience together, even though it's not really happening in the reality that we're in this
Hmm.
very moment. I want you to visualize all the different things. I want you to experience those different things of how it can and shall be. If we so choose to go that route, I need you to understand that
Or
you
when.
can and you shall be fucked good mentally, okay? Like,
Hmm.
The brain can do so many wonders to the body.
It's our
You
biggest
could
sexual organ.
right, you could sit there and you could fuck somebody, but to whisper in their ear exactly what you want to do to their body, and where you're gonna put your tongue, and how you're gonna touch them in these different. Oh my God, you could your brain can take that. You can come just from that sometimes if it's good enough.
oh child.
Oh God. I've done that to somebody. That's so much fun.
I'm getting turned on just thinking about it. Whew.
Right?
Listen, but
I was like, who can I? Who can I write later? Who can I write after this or
Like the
during?
moments when you have satisfaction or even just have orgasm without there being any kind of ejaculation. Oh my God, people. The things that you can do just with the mind alone, the things that you can do without actually penetrating a body, it is phenomenal. It
Yep.
is greatness.
Yep.
Mm.
It would just turn the physical that much better, you know? You've got all of this on your mind, your senses are aroused, all of that. Like the best sex comes from more, with from all five senses being stimulated. What is he saying now? Because I want to know. I'm nosy
Who?
today.
Who, Fred?
Yeah.
Not that this man's name literally just became Fred on the podcast. Um, so I'm sorry, Fred. I'm about to read your text message. Like, you know who you are. They don't know who you are. So it's all good. It's still kind of discreet. Wait, I sent the wrong message. Okay, when you read that, I guess I sent the wrong thing. I was supposed to put "I got you," but the message was, "Can't wait to experience this mind fucking you're talking about." Clearly, I'm missing out. Yes, you are, and not
How dare you
oh
deny
you
Fred?
petty whore.
How
I'm
dare you
sorry.
deny him?
No, I got him. I got him. Look, if you really want, I just need to get some blindfolds, a few chains, and we can go ahead and get some things. Not, he said, who is Fred Jones? Nick, I need you to send pictures on that. Oh, wait, is that the dude from Scooby Doo? Oh yeah, it is a dude from Scooby Doo.
I didn't know Fred from Scooby Doo's last name was Jones.
I didn't either, bitch. I like look at what we're learning today. Thank you, Fred.
I mean, if Fred wants the mind fuck, just be, I can tell you one of my favorite kinks is chastity,
Mm.
Hmm.
and October is only a couple weeks away.
Locktober, is
So
that what you said?
October, it's when
October.
you go in chastity for the entire month of October, and you don't orgasm or you don't touch yourself, but you get teased by the key holder,
Oh.
and you're not allowed to come. At least that's the way I play it. But if Fred really wants that mental mind fuck, you should put him in a cage for October, not let him have access to his dick for a month, and then tease him as much as you can.
See, well, Fred, let me know if that's something that you're interested in. I know for myself, I cannot participate in Locktober because I can come hands free. So, like, bitch.
And that's amazing if you can. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Yo,
Yeah.
it's the way that you truly tapped into yourself.
Bitch, like, like, yeah. There's things.
I
Like
feel like
this.
women need to have more months like this because men have now Locktober, No Nut November.
I would
I
never
forgot what they made for.
participate.
Listen, right, exactly. Because when I first heard that, I said, "Why would you do that to yourself? That sounds terrible." But whatever. But I mean, I guess it's
Not
kind of
I.
similar to Locktober, but whatever. So, but yeah, I can't think of any months that women have that are like that,
I
or
mean,
at
you
least
could
vagina
symbolically
denying people.
practice October. I know trans guys that practice October. They don't necessarily lock up, but they basically kind of do the act the same way. They don't touch themselves. They don't fondle. They don't come. They don't orgasm. They just let it. They just fight. I mean, it's harder for them because they don't have the cage to stop them. But you can do it.
So I
I'll be
Interesting.
think
happy to help you with it if you want, Nicole.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I'm not about to participate. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just saying
no, no,
for
no,
those who
no,
are interested, I'm not about to deny myself. Hell no. So
no.
somebody else, but someone else that may be interested in that, like
Mhm.
I haven't heard of anything that would be
see,
similar. But I guess you're right. I mean, just not touching, but I think there would definitely need to be more consequences for touching.
bitch.
Oh, with my
Ooh,
with my boys, there's definitely consequences.
I love to spank. I do love to spank.
I
I,
Mhm.
just thought of a
I
whole section of a contract. So, what's funny is even though I'm still new to BDSM, like I've written contracts already and like understanding consequences, hard off limits, all of this other kind of stuff. So as you're saying that, I'm like, oh man, we could probably make a whole contract for that as far as what the rewards and consequences would be for that. I think that would be so dope.
Right. And I think, like, now that I think about it, like, Locktober may actually be good for those people who participate in, like, edging,
Mm,
because they have
I don't
to
want the edging.
prolong that. Oh, so that's interesting.
That's
Hmm.
one of my favorite things to do.
Oh, yeah, we talked
Edging?
about that.
Yeah, for not for myself, but for October for my boys. Like I will get them to tease themselves, get them right to that edge, and then I'll tell them to hold that for 30-40 minutes without going over, and then stop and don't finish. Oh God, it's so fucking hot for me.
That's so mean.
I know, and I love it.
But yeah, I was gonna
and
say I was like, but at the same time, I see it.
and they love it too. So what can I do? I
Love
facilitate.
that.
What can I do?
God, I love that so much for you.
Mm.
Or like
So
the
Fred,
asking permission. Oh Lord.
Oh my gosh, do you not know? I love when somebody asks for permission to do things because, I'm already consent forward. So that like makes a extra layer of me being comfortable with the person and you continue to ask for the permission to do things. Oh my
mhm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask me, oh, can I do this for you, daddy? Yes, you can. Actually, Zaddy, can I do this for you? Yes, you may. Okay. I'm in a moment. So we're going to continue in this episode so I can release myself from it. What
Mm-hmm.
is up next? Oh, damn, it just got real. Jesus. I forgot what was after the breaking from sex.
You wrote these topics.
I did. I did. And again, thank you, Adrian, for like giving us like the overarching theme for this episode. Because like literally after the first part, it just was all free thought. So yeah, shout out to you, girl. Like I appreciate you. When you see this and when you hear this on the actual podcast, just know that you are appreciated and loved. So the next topic, since we're, you know, there's that general disclaimer thing that's going on in the lower third for anybody who needs to like see that in the video. So I already gave you the general warning. And when this comes in the audio, you already hear the thing at the beginning of the podcast before the intro music start. So here we are. We're talking about sexual trauma. So the next topic that we're talking about is sex as a trauma response and coping mechanism. So many people overall do not understand how we link our coping mechanisms, our strategies of getting over things, and all those. I'm trying to do better. I'll do better. But anyways, as long as y'all can hear me. Um, but yeah, like people develop their sexual expression as a trauma response. It can often show as being hypersexual. It can be hyposexual. It can just be removing themselves from sexuality altogether. What are some of the things that you all experienced, or even what you know of, or your sentiment of how people have used sex as a way to respond to their traumas or utilize sex as a way to cope with the traumas that they experienced?
I think for me, I'm going to kind of bring this back also to the healing journey that we talked about earlier. There is a strong connection between kink and trauma, because kink can be very traumatic itself. Depending on what your kink is, it could be dangerous, it could be hurtful, it could be very traumatic. And there's a lot of people out there that will, you know, it's not something I do because I'm just not comfortable with it, but there are people who deal with trauma through kink, and it's about taking control of the situation. If something happened to you when you were a kid, use a kink situation under controlled circumstances with a trusted partner, and with the right under the with the right environment to indulge in these activities to show that you have power, that it doesn't control you, you control it. you
Mm,
know but I do want to emphasize the trusted partner, right conditions, because it can also cause more trauma if not handled properly, or not with somebody that you trust to follow the rules that you set in place. But if you have somebody, and you can talk, like, I mean, this is something that I've kind of talked a little bit about in my practice, but not very much, because again, I'm not a trauma coach, so I don't really know that. But I do understand when people say, like, I want to try this, and I want to say, okay, and I can tell you, like, here's what you want to do, here's the things you need to look out for. These are the red flags you want to, and I'm saying this to the top or the dom, because they're the ones that need to be able to notice when to stop. They're the ones that need to notice when and if it's gone too far. Because a lot of times, the sub who's dealing with the trauma in the moment, like we said, horniness is a drug. In the moment, they may not even realize it's hurting them more. They may not realize until after the fact that it caused more damage than good. So it is up to me as the dom. It is up to you as the dom to watch, to be hyper aware, and make sure that you are following the rules. You are doing what you're supposed. And if you see even the tiniest bit of red flag or tiniest bit of warning, you just stop. But in that sense, I think it can be extremely helpful if done right. Just be careful.
I agree with that. I think that fine line between it really helping you deal with it or cope with your trauma versus being just so engulfed and engrossed in the scene that you're not present enough in your body to know when you should be using a safe word for, hey, I'm at the border, or hey, I'm there, and your dom being tapped into you enough to understand, or to like really read your body language and see the things that you're not saying, and saying, okay, I'm pushing them too hard, or this might, sometimes it might be they're not even being pushed hard, especially if this is a scene that you've done before with this trusted partner. Like, sometimes it's usually we're good here, but clearly they're not good right now in their body. So yeah, I think them being hyper aware um, would be the best for the sub or the person who's going through that. But also, I think that, like you were talking about before, like that correlation between trauma and kink, between trauma and BDSM, which isn't there for everybody, once again, but the way that people go to that space because of the trauma to deal with it, to get away, to be in that different headspace. And that's something else that I think people don't really understand or know about. Like, when you're going through these scenes, typically you as the sub and the dom, in a lot of cases, you guys are in a different headspace to release, to get away from whatever your reality is. So things like aftercare is super important, not only to bring you back and make sure that you're good and you guys can talk about the scene, the experience that you just had, but also to bring you back from that head space, dom space, top space, sub space, all of those things, bring you back from that back into your reality so that you can cope and so that you can deal. This is not something that you could just get up and go when you're done. But I think that people do, though, like you were saying, the correlation is people do just deal with whatever trauma it is with sex, like, using that same getting under to get over. And it's typically not a helpful thing. Like, they might think it's okay for the first few, but they're not realizing the terrible pathway that they're leaving, of destruction that they're leaving behind for other people, and then of course for themselves. So that's why I feel like it's a fine line. Like, you really should not do that. You really shouldn't do it. You're just the same way as people use alcohol, drugs, food, whatever else as a coping mechanism, and how all of those things can be damaging to you and not good for you. The same thing can happen with sex, especially when you're not with a partner who is truly consenting to this and truly like looking out for your well-being. You're just trying to get with someone and you're just like, I need you to do da da da, and they're like, I mean, sure, but is that really what you need right now? Because especially after the scene or during, like, this is not really what we should be doing right now. This is not good for you, because the cries that you have are internal, terrible cries and not pleasurable ones. So I'm I'm on the side of don't do that because I just feel like most people won't know most people won't know what that line is, and they're
Hmm.
not going to come back very well from it.
See, that reminds me, like, I know, like, from my history of engaging with other people and whatnot, and having a history close to mental health and mental wellness, as well as being a coach and all those other things, and I engage with other people to, just to figure out how they want to express sex and all these other things, or engage in sex with other people. I've even had moments where I had to take a step back and recognize, oh wait, you should not be having sex right now. What's going on with us right now is too much. Like, I even remember this was a time when I was in Nashville and somebody was telling me how they were going through so many things, like I think a family member, I think their grandmother had just recently passed and they lost their job and all these other things. And they were just like, but I want to hook up with you. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. We
Mm-mm.
cannot hook up. Like, first and foremost, I'm a firm believer in energies. And that's some energies that I don't want to, even though I do use protection and everything, but that's still some energies that I don't want to be laying over in my apartment because of everything that's going on with you. I don't want you to be in a position where you get so accustomed to utilizing sex to have that release, um, that you just feel something in a moment rather than feeling the feelings, the accurate and true feelings that you're feeling in the moment because all of the things that you're going through. And I think
Mm-hmm.
people have become so accustomed to utilizing sex to eradicate or even minimize the real traumas or the real life emotions that they're feeling in the moment, so that they can move through life with the guise that they're okay rather than just acknowledging that they're not okay. And this is for any person who's doing that out there. It is okay not to be okay. But sex is not something that is a quick fix, is not something that is able to remove you from the problems. It's similar to like when people turn to drugs to help deal with whatever the fuck is going on in their lives. You that problem, that issue, that those emotions are still going to be there once you're off of those drugs. Those things are still going to be present, and until you actually deal with those things, process those things, understand those emotions, understand those feelings, you're not going to be okay like you want to be okay. It's great that you want to have sex. It's great that you may have good sex while depressed. But at the end of the day, if you're not removing the emotional blockage that is preventing you from having a fulfilled experience through all of that, it's not going to really benefit you, because at the end of the day, that those things, those feelings are still going to be there because they have not been dealt with. And I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that, well, I feel as though that's the thing that many people refuse to acknowledge, or they refuse to understand, because it's easier, like you mentioned, it's easier to get under another person to get over another person, which is a doctrine I will never subscribe to, because it makes absolutely no sense of why anybody would do that, because you're not dealing with the emotions. You're not dealing with the
Mm-mm.
breakup. You're not dealing with the hurt. You're just deflecting. You're just finding a new source. You're finding somebody that you don't even have any emotional connection with, or any physical or real alignment with, just to escape the idea or the feelings of knowing that you have heartbreak waiting around the
Mm-hmm.
corner.
And so
Exactly. All those
I
feelings are still there when you're done. When you go
absolutely.
to when you go put on your clothes and leave and you pick up your shoes, right waiting right there with you are those that is all of that same fucking baggage that you got to carry back with you. So how is that helpful? It's just a
Going back to
temporary,
yeah,
yeah.
going back to horniness as a drug. When you're horny, it feels great. Once that drug wears off, the guilt and the
Mhm.
self-loathing. But to kind of go back to a little bit of what I was saying, and also I want to hit on a point that Nicole made, because I'm going to get on a soapbox for a second in a minute.
Feel
Um,
free. We
but
love
like,
it.
so I did want to also emphasize, And I agree with both of you very, very much. But when sex using kink as a trauma healing practice, that's when I say doing that, I mean that as that's a tool, not a treatment. That isn't the only thing you should be doing. You should be doing that in conjunction with seeing a therapist. You should be doing that in conjunction with working on yourself. You should be doing that in conjunction with everything else you need to do, and then potentially use this as another tool to help you overcome that hurdle. Don't rely on this to be the thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and also something that Nicole said, I'm going to get my soapbox now. I fucking hate safe words, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not that I don't think they're a good thing, and I'm not the one of these guys that say I don't use safe words, because I think they're too limiting. I think, I think at the time they were good, and because, for example, when you call a safe word, we're done. We're done. We stop. Sex is over. The scene is done. We're not going back into it. We're done because you safe worded out. I don't like that because that to me, there's sometimes another step in there. So like in my practice, when I do scenes, I like to use the red, yellow, green personally. And for those who don't know what that means, obviously, green means everything's okay. When you call yellow, that means you stop, have a conversation, discuss what you're feeling, and then potentially and then from there you can decide if you want to go back to green or go to red. And when you go to red, again, it's like safe wording out, you're done. So it gives you a little bit of that wiggle room. Sometimes you don't want to safe word out, but you still need to stop and take a minute and have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of times you will safe word out, but you don't actually want to stop. You just want it to take a moment,
Mm-hmm.
so that's my soapbox. I think safe words are a great thing to have, but I personally, I hate them because they're just way too limiting in my world.
And I never thought about it that way and maybe because when, even though I've heard of safe words for a long time, when it was more explained to me when it came to kink and BDSM, um, it was more using it like a red, yellow, green. I mean, some people just have the one safe word, but for me, I'm just like, I don't think there should be one just for that same reason. And for me personally, like mine is also like the red, yellow, green, because to me that makes the most sense. It's it'll be something easier to remember than white picket fence or some stupid shit, right? Like I'm not gonna remember that. I'm not gonna remember that in those moments, especially if I'm in a moment where I need to go from green to yellow, or more importantly, from green to red.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna remember that. The only thing I'm gonna say is stop, because that's the only thing that makes sense. Your mind isn't going there, right? So to me, red, yellow, green makes sense, but I always think of it as that if you need to go from green to yellow, that's just like you said, whether it's you're stopping or you're just recalibrating, taking a little bit softer, and then going from there. Especially if you and the dom and the sub really know each other and they trust each other enough to where they can pick up on those things and recalibrate you, without having to fully stop. That's what I think of. That's what I would use it for, and
yeah.
not really like, oh, I need to just be out of here and just completely stop the scene. But I also like again, if you're at yellow, let's pause for a minute. What's going on? What do you need? Should we keep going, or do you just was that a yellow to red? Really, are we at orange, red, orange? Like, where are we at? So
Kind of a chartreuse.
right, which where are we at here? So so those that's why. But I mean, from what you're saying, I could definitely understand, like, if you just have the one safe word and that one is pineapples, and that means we got to shut shit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what's going on with you and me as to why you felt that you needed to get out of there?
I'm also a
Because
fan of
it's like you didn't have a good discussion before you even got into the scene, because
exactly.
why do you need to get out already?
Yeah, I'm also a fan of not only have that already. I like to work with a potential nonverbal cue as well, because a lot of people who get into subspace or get into the scenes, they become nonverbal, and they can't even say yellow, or they can't say red, they can't say safe word. So I like to, if it's somebody I know that I know can get nonverbal, I like to work on some sort of cue that
Hmm.
the cue would represent yellow most of the time. Whereas I see them do it, I'm going to stop, give them a second to breathe, get their words back, talk about it. but I'm not going to say like do this for red and do this for yellow. It's like you do this, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to stop and have a conversation, and then we'll decide from there. But I think it's it's also very helpful to have that on top of it, because a kink needs to be safe and consensual.
Yep.
And yes, there is risk involved. There's always risk involved in kink. We accept that risk as kinksters, but we want to make it as safe and comfortable and less dangerous as we can. And if that means we have 5 safe words, we do the red yellow, we have 13 hand signals, and we learn American Sign Language just so we could talk, then so be it.
And that's the truth. That's one thing that I like. So, I mean, I don't know if the audience has picked up on it, but yeah, when it comes to kink and BDSM, like this shit is not one, like I said before, it is not linear. There are layers to this. There are other rooms and crawl spaces and all kinds of shit. Like this is not something that is just a blanket thing. The only thing that's really blanket is safe and consensual. That is the only thing that goes in every part of those spaces. Everything else really needs to be what you and that other person or people need it to be. It's not going to look the same for everybody. Like for example, Sir Marvelous and his sub Siphon the Unicorn. I've had the pleasure of seeing one of their demonstrations up close and then actually meeting them in person and seeing their content and stuff like that. And what they do is called sensual BDSM, something I never even knew existed until I saw them, and seeing what that looks like and how that works for them and how that could be the best introduction or the best path for some people who are interested in different kinds of play versus versus the 50 shades of disgusting, really, that no one really knew that there was anything else other than that, but understanding that there are so many different layers. Like you need to make that look like what it's supposed to look like for you or for you and your partner, and find those different people who are on the same path, the same wavelength. And of course there's tons of resources so that you can find these different things, but don't think that, okay, well, if I'm in this, I gotta have, just the one safe word or the 3 or whatever the case is. You need to make that look like what it's supposed to look, what it needs to look like for you, so that safe and consensual, you feel that, that it isn't just like, oh, well, yeah, you're safe, or yeah, we could do that. And like, no, it needs to be a real conversation, negotiation. That's why before you even get into a scene, negotiation is important. Even if you've been with this person 15 years, it's going to look different, but you're going to be negotiating the scene, especially when you're trying something new. So this stuff is not something to step lightly into. You really have to get some education. You really have to know what you're getting into and what you're trying, like it's so complex and so layered. The simplest thing, the simplest thing is the safe and consensual part.
And to build off that, like not even just like different kinks for different people. Like I may like to be spanked, and then you may like to be tied up. But not only that, but the way I like to practice spanking is different than the way somebody else likes to practice spanking.
Yes.
So even though you say, "Oh, we're both into the same kink," it could still look extremely different between the two of you. Like I like a little spanking. I don't mind spanking a boy. Get him a little red. I know a guy who you could take a bullwhip to his ass and bleed him, and he's not happy until it's like he's purple. And I'm like, that's
Right.
oh no, not
way too much for me.
Yeah, that's a little far. That's further than I'm willing to go. So not only is it like different kinks, but it's like everyone practices kink, and if it makes it good, but it's about everyone practices kink differently, and you got to be aware of that. And it is, and that's kind of like why I said, like I was saying earlier, what does dom sub look like to you? Because kink looks differently to everybody. Like oh, I like to be spanked. Well, what does that look like? I like to have these.
Do you like floggers and paddles and bullwhips, or are you strictly a hands person? And even if that's the case, what's your severity? Is it a little pop, or what is it looking like for you? Yeah. So I totally agree.
Yeah, and at least in terms of impact play, as an example, like when I do impact play with somebody, at least at first, I gauge it. I hit them. Well, what is that from a 1 to 10? Okay, and I hit them again a little harder. What is that? And then I can kind of gauge and say, well, what's too far for you? If like say this is a 3, are you okay with a 5? Are you okay with a 7? And then gauge her from there. And honestly, what a 3 looks like to this person is going to be very different than what a 3 looks like to this other person.
Right. Just like you were talking about with that other person, your three might be a one to them, a zero
Exactly.
even.
Or your 3 might be a 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, honestly, as soon as y'all mentioned sensual play, my mind just start wandering because
That's
I
okay.
love it. I love sensual play. I love the
Mm-hmm.
engagement of senses, like be it
Mm-hmm.
smells, and I love the touch and the feels, and just getting to know someone or even engaging them on a level that like is in a way, I feel like sensual play is that undiscovered level of intimacy that most people choose not to go down. Because I
Mm-hmm.
like to have the conversation of what smells make you feel good,
Mm.
what smells make you aroused a little bit, and the I still remember the moment I realized that I do enjoy sensual play because I was, like, in high school at the time, and that's when I learned that, like, the smell of baby powder kinda turned me on. I have no idea why, but it was just like, "What was that?" It just
Cocoa
made
butter
me
for me.
feel ooh, ooh, yes, cocoa butter. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Not to tangent really quickly, but I went to a trade school and I had a friend who was in cosmetology, and every day for lunch she would come to the table and she would shove her hands in my face because they always smelled of cocoa butter, and it was how I
Yes.
started my lunch break, and it was the heaven. Sorry.
Yes,
Oh,
That's
it's
hilarious.
good. It's a beautiful
That's
thing.
hilarious.
so
It's
But
a
good.
you're
beautiful
right though. The
like
smells, lighting candles to enhance the mood, whether honestly, candles to enhance a mood, whether it's just the warmth or the light or the actual smell or all three, that is a mood I think regardless of if you're being sensual or if you're not, because playing with the senses, period,
mm,
like heightens so many things, like whether it's a memory, a good memory or something like that, or for some people a not so great memory, just to get them into that space, like that's total mood. People, there's a reason why people love like the scent of vanilla, or depending on how deep the vanilla smell is. There's so
Mm,
many reasons why people love that kind of stuff, because it evokes certain emotions and senses and stuff. Like it all is the serotonin and the oxytocin and the oxytocin and all this other things, just to be nerdy for a second. But
mhm.
all of it plays into these same different things. So I totally get it. Like the sensual play, I think I agree with you there. Like it's so underrated. We just get in there and just to have, well, a lot of people get in there just to have sex and get that nut, hopefully, and be done, and not really understand that the foreplay before you even get there, to
mm,
when they're caressing you and touching you and kissing and all this other kind of stuff, makes your experience that much better when you finally get
Mm.
to them, or you finally get to that point. But it's just so underrated and downplayed, unfortunately. We need to
Oh,
bring that back for sure.
yes,
I don't understand people who want to have sexual encounters that don't aren't into cuddling or kissing.
mhm,
Right.
Because for me that's part of the sensuality of it, and the sense I'm a like not only sensual but I'm a sensation player, and I love sensation. I love feeling like I'm tactile. So when I'm with somebody, I'm in a scene, I don't care how aggressive the scene is, I'm touching, I'm rubbing, I'm putting my body against theirs, I'm kissing their neck, kissing their lips, I'm feeling them, and I'm feeling the moment. And like not only that, but even like it gets me going every time. Like when I love to do it too. It's like when someone gets really close to your ear and whispers really softly, and or just this a light uh, right in your ear. Oh God, it just sends shivers down my spine.
that part, yes.
Is someone coming into the room with your horny tray that you're about to start up in 5 minutes?
I
Because you
guess
were going
so.
to a
Yeah,
place just now.
yeah. I did a little moan just then. I kind of gave
You
myself a
did.
little shiver.
Oh god. Okay. So, oh god, I am really thinking about um And I think, was it you, Nicole? I was talking about the person that I was talking to back in the day. Well, still kind of ongoing, whatever that situation is, in terms of like. Oh, I might as well say it. Like, one of the things that I really wanted to do with that person was to have them experience multiple, like at least 5 orgasms before any kind of penetrative sex happens. And a lot of that is related to sensual play, because it's like I do want to have the sapiosexual experience. I do want to engage in the sensual touching aspect of things. Like, one of the things like that I plan on doing in an upcoming workshop is help people recognize that, like, how your body is your biggest sexual organ, and how you can utilize it in different ways to experience sex with your partner, be it a hard touch or something that's like extreme with like a spanking or whatever. And even how the mixture between a spank and a soft touch may provide some kind of sensual feeling that
Mm.
you have with another person. Like,
Hmm.
all of those things, like, when I tell you sensational sensation play is like my thing.
Mm.
Like,
It's good.
metal,
It's
it's
good stuff.
so,
So
it
like
feels
get them nerve endings firing and just yeah, touch them all. See if you can get how many ever thousand them shits is. See if you can touch them all because
oh
it really does take you to this other place. Like you were saying, like if you're spanking someone and then they and then the person who's doing the spanking like then rubs and caresses that area, like it's
oh
so important. I just feel like it's so important. Like you can't do one without the other, in my opinion. But I'm also, a sensual type person too. I'm a touchy feely bitch too. So I love that kind of stuff anyway. But I mean, you're right. And thinking about like having a little scalp massage. Like, have you ever had someone just massage your shoulders and they
girl,
go up the back of your neck and then to the bottom of your head or just through your? That's it's my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. Or personally,
getting your
give
hair
you a little bit of
washed,
my
Lord.
business for a second. But like personally, giving head to somebody and them like putting their fingers or their hands in my hair, not to like push my head or anything, but just their fingers in my hair and just kind of playing with my scalp a little bit, or even
Mhm.
just like the tension or whatever. Another level. Another, you
Mm.
want me to go ham is what you're saying to me right now. So that's what we're doing. But
Girl.
that kind of stuff,
And
perfect. I love it.
what's so good about sensual play is it can start days before the actual act. Like
Mhm.
you can be at dinner beforehand, for example, and you can just start touching and caressing and just looking at your partner in the right way and just leaning in and whispering something in their ear or giving them a little kiss on the cheek. The scene starts there,
Yeah.
and it just gets better and better. And even what makes it even better is when you get into afterplay, aftercare, excuse me. You can still carry on the sensation play because a lot of people for aftercare is a lot of cuddling and kissing and hanging out and just being with each other. So you can rub and touch and cuddle, in a non-sexual way, but it's still in doing aftercare. But it can extend the scene and make it last. I mean, you can start, like I said, you can start that shit days before. If
Mhm.
I know I'm having a date with somebody that they're coming over like on a Saturday, sometimes I'll like to start on like Thursday, just like sending text and sending messages saying, "Hey, here's what I want to do, and here's what we're gonna do," and then so that way, and so it just starts, and they're ready for it, and they're eager. And like one of my other favorite things to do, and I think when this guy I just started seeing maybe listening, so he may be getting spoiled right now. So if you are listening, expect this at some point. Um, I love, and talking about some sensation play. I love to tie someone up, put on a
Mm.
blindfold and noise canceling headphones, and then walk away. And every so often, without letting them know, come back and just touch them in a way, or rub them, or kiss them, or stroke them, and then walk away. So they never know when it's coming because they can't hear me and they can't see me. And when it touched them, oh, gee,
Right.
so good.
The shivers,
Where's
the
my
goosebumps, like
horniness?
Oh,
right. Like someone
God,
bring it in, bring it in.
I think I'm already high. Fuck.
Just had to snort that a little bit
Yeah,
because
just take that
that's
one in.
that shit.
You can use that one if you want. I don't care.
Just like you know I will.
Yeah. Mhm.
that might have to be a clip real quick. Like people
No, if you're snorting that as well as I am, yes, that's
Mhm.
that shit
that's
right
that
there.
good
That is
shit.
some good shit.
Really good shit. Okay, to move on because it's already 8 o'clock, and I don't know which alcohol is battling with my personality at this moment, and I love it for myself. So let's get deep into some shit because the next topic that came up was getting over past lovers. I know for myself, like this is kind of going back to that concept of getting under somebody to get over somebody, which many of us on this, well, all of us on this, do not agree on because what the fuck is that? But I know, like for myself, when it came to my ex, I love that we did have like somewhat of a friendship, so that we can have those conversations and have those things about closure, have the conversation about closure, understanding what went wrong, went right within the relationship. That really helped me move past, as well as help me improve myself as it relates to future relationships, as well as getting to know the person that I'm getting to know now, to make sure I can at least show up for them in a way that's beneficial to them that I was unable to show up for my ex. But I will say, when it comes to getting over past lovers, I will always recommend making sure that you take time for yourself, take time for your healing process, take time for knowing what you want when it comes to your next relationship, understanding where things failed, be it with the other person, as well as what failed with you when it comes to relating to or getting to know a new person, and see how those things transpire in future relationships. What is some of the things that you all feel, or what is it that what kind of advice that you can provide to somebody who's in a space where they need to get over a past lover that is not getting under another motherfucker?
Mm, I don't know. I think you touched on some really good things, right? Which was if it's not a terrible breakup and you're able to go back and have conversation with them. I mean, you don't have to be friends or at least friends for a long time, but be able to be in a space where you can have those conversations and be like, now that we're not together anymore officially, what is
Mm,
it? What is it that irks your nerves so bad about me? What is it that you think that I need to work on? Because when you're in a relationship with someone, even if you love that person, sometimes hearing that you need to work on whatever issue you had in your past or that issue with your mom or whatever the hell it was. Sometimes people don't want to hear that during the relationship because you're just like, oh, now you're just trying to say some shit to make me mad, blah, blah, blah. And they don't
mm,
take it very well. But when you're in a different space of, like, hey, remember that time where this happened and I said this to you and you got mad, pissed off about it? I wasn't trying to be funny. I'm saying I feel like this is something that you should do because this is how it affected our relationship, or this is how it affected me, or every time I said this or I did that, you got triggered and you started doing this behavior. And I don't think that that's healthy. So being able to have some conversations, if you can, I think would be, um, would be easy. But also, I mean, going back to something Wes said earlier was taking some time to yourself to really get to know yourself and learn what's going on with you, speaking to a counselor, speaking to a therapist, doing some journaling or whatever, so you can be like, yeah, they kept saying this and da da da, and I know I got this wrong, so that you can write that out in the moment, but also take some time and go back to that and really reflect and be like, damn, was it me for real, or was it just this, or you know what, I know I need a partner that isn't gonna straight out gaslight me, but is not going to try to just say some shit just to make me pissed off for no reason. So, like, getting, defining what your wants and needs look like for a partner, but also understanding what kind of person you are as far as like knowing what you will tolerate, what you won't, what you will compromise on, if you're a compromising person at all, and all kinds of things like that. That should be some time to get through that. Now, if it was a relationship where you were really hurt and there was like infidelity going on, and that's something that's really big for you, and you're just like, it came out of nowhere, and I don't know what to do, then I definitely think you should seek counseling, because once again, you don't want to project your hurt, your pain that you had in this previous relationship with someone who is unsuspecting and really is not trying to do you any kind of harm, but you keep on putting that person into the same category. You sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop, or waiting for them to be this asshole, this fuck boy, fuck girl, whatever, and that's not even what they're here for. You're just still in this mindset. So if you don't heal yourself from these past relationships or things that trigger you, which I hate to keep on using that word, but things that turn out to be like a red flag, or as soon as you see something you're always reacting to it, then you need to identify what those are and really see what the underlying reason is for that. Everybody isn't out for you. Everybody doesn't always do the same thing. But why is it that you think that? So those are my tips.
So I'm going to kind of go against the grain here. Again, and I think both of you had made very valid points.
Shake some tables. We love
I'm
it.
gonna shake some spider webs loose here. I think if it's a relationship that you need to that you feel you need to get over, then you should have had these conversations many times already. I think if it's a relationship if it's someone that you were in a relationship with that you feel that you need to get past, that they have affected you so emotionally that you need to work on getting past them, then you should have had these conversations with them in the past about what they do and don't like about you, what you do and don't like, what's good and what rubs them the wrong way, because relationships are about communication. 90% of a relationship is about communication. And if you're not having those conversations, you're not communicating. So yes, I think for the most part, for the regular, we dated for a month or whatever, and maybe I want to find out what it was that they didn't like, fine. But for me, when you say getting past lovers, I'm thinking this is somebody that I fell for. This is somebody that I spent some meaningful time with, that really got to know me, that I got to know myself. And if I had to wait till after we were broken up to hear that, then we were doomed from the beginning.
So I'm gonna ask a question that some people are probably gonna ask,
Sure.
whether it's in the comments or just out loud to themselves. So what do you do in the situations where, like plenty of people in relationships, they did not communicate?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that.
During-
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the perfect. Everyone does it. I'm just saying that's my opinion. But I think for those who don't communicate, that should be a learning experience for you. If you're in a relationship and you're not telling your lover how you feel, I understand. Nobody wants to hear negative. Nobody wants to hear negative about themselves. People get defensive. I don't want my partner, or my husband, or my boyfriends, or my partners coming to me and say, "Hey, this is what I don't like about you." I don't want to hear that. It makes me uncomfortable to have those conversations. But if it's going to be something that affects our relationship, it's something I need to hear. And if I'm not comfortable doing that for my partner, and they're not comfortable doing that for me, then that's something I need to reevaluate as well. And if it's something that I feel my partner is not comfortable with doing, that's something that I need to help them work through. And I'll tell you, for myself, and it's something that I had to deal with. When I first started dating my husband, I'm very anti argument. I get very anxious when it comes to arguments. My brain says, if I fight with you, you're going to walk away from me. We're never going to talk again. So in my world, when we used to fight at the beginning of our relationship, when we would argue, I would shut down. Shut down. That was my response to it. And that was not healthy. And it took him years to push me out of that. And eventually I got out of it. And I realized that if I'm not comfortable telling him these things, then that's a problem. And, I need to know if this is somebody that I need to get over, or is somebody that maybe we were in a good relationship that turned sour and we're no longer together, that I should already know what that person feels about me, how they feel about me. So if I did go to the comments, go to them and say, "Hey, tell me this," it shouldn't be any of a surprise to me. But again, like I said, that's ideal, and not everyone does that, and it happens. If that's a situation where you're in a lasting relationship, and then after the relationship's over, you find out all this shit, then
Mhm.
you should not only look at your partner, but you should look deep at yourself and say, why were we not talking about this ahead of time?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say one of the things that I learned from my previous relationship is that, like, one, communication has always been something that's important to me, but that relationship taught me the need of providing time for somebody to be able to communicate with
Hmm.
things. Um, because there has been times, well, there were times where I will ask, "Okay, what's going on? You seem a little bit distant. Do you want to talk about it?" And then he'll say like, "Oh, everything's good," blah 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 blah. And then a few months later, when he brings up the things that were bothering him, I'm just like, "Okay, you could have brought this up when I asked." But where I'm at now, I recognize that the reason why he's bringing it up he brought it up at the time was because it seemed to be a better time and he was in a better space to have the conversation,
Hmm.
and that it was better for me to actually lean into the conversation rather than be like dismiss the the need to talk about it, because
Mhm.
he was still feeling those things, he was still feeling some type of way, and for me to be the person to automatically respond like, "You could have brought it up earlier when I asked," was dismissing the fact that there was a processing that he was still going through. And like, I I will say that is even something that helps you with getting over, like, that past lover, because of the lessons that you learn from those encounters, the lessons that you
Mhm.
gain from that. When you sit down and reflect on what was right, what was wrong, and even give the other person the full right to tell you exactly their perspective of the relationship without any pushback, without any kind of "I need to justify or defend myself,"
Which is really
also
hard.
helps. It's really hard, but
Yeah.
it also helps because
Yeah.
I swear when I sat with not sat with him, but when I sent the message to my ex and asked him what went well and what did not, I was in the space of not wanting to correct. I was not in a space of wanting to defend myself. I truly was in a space of understanding who I was to them in their perspective,
Mhm.
and figuring out what other people may get from me. And that helped me understand my relationship dynamics, understand what my failings were. Granted, it wasn't anything bad that my ex had to tell me, which I would say was great, because he literally was like, "Oh, no, dating you was amazing," but there was just some like, I put my friends over him, which I was like, "Okay, that makes sense because I get it. I did do that. I did do that because I love my friends. Like, bitch, do you not know my friends?" But at the same time, it made me recognize, okay, when I'm in these spaces, when I'm in a relationship, I have to be mindful that if I'm treating my friends some type of like, have them on like a pedestal, that my partner may feel insignificant in our relationship, and that's
Mhm.
something that I have to improve on, to make sure that they feel just as important, if not more, to my friendships, because these relationships that I've cultivated for myself over the years, they are truly important, but I also have to make sure that the person I'm engaging with also recognizes and understands that they are just as important, that I want to engage in that. And if I'm creating an environment where they feel less than, then I need to do a little bit more. I need to put in a little bit more effort to make them know that I do care about you, that I do love you, that I do want this to be a successful relationship. And I feel as though that's one of those things that we have to recognize within our whatever we are, if we just start a relationship with somebody or if we're leaving a relationship with somebody, we have to be real with ourselves about our shortcomings within our relationships and not just acknowledge that, oh, I was the bum, I was that bitch, I was that nigga, I was all the things. We have to acknowledge that, okay, this relationship failed. It's a two-party system.
Hmm.
It's two people involved in that. So I know my ex had a part in that, but what was my part in either enabling the failure of this relationship or hindering the success of this relationship? So where is that?
Yeah, and most people focus more on how your partner failed you in the relationship and don't focus on how you failed you or how you failed your partner in the relationship. And go back to what you're saying is like, I'm like you. I'm the type of person where if I have something wrong with me, I'm going to sit on it and I'm going to stew on it. And it's not because it's mainly because sometimes what bothers me right now may be no big deal. It may just be something that I just may not be in the right mind frame, and it just something just hit me the wrong way. We get that way, so I don't like to take the first moment as like saying, "Oh, this is an issue we have." I like to
Mm-hmm.
sit on it and see if it keeps bothering me, and if it does,
Mm-hmm.
I will usually say something. Hey, just so you know, and my my husband is very much like you're saying. He's more of like, "Well, why didn't you tell me then?" I'm like, "Well, I wasn't ready to." you know
Yeah.
and it's not about when it's for me, it's not about when you tell them, it's about just about being able to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time, form your words. If you're the type of person that can do it right away, great. If you're the person that needs a couple of weeks or a couple of days to kind of think on it and formulate a process and kind of just work on it through your own self first, you do that. But it's when they don't say, it's for me, it's when they don't say anything. Like, when your ex told you, like, well, you put your friend ahead of you, you already knew that. I'm sure that may or may not have been a conversation that you two had at one point. But if not, that's something he probably should have said to you at some point, saying, hey, just so you know, this is how I feel. So so when he brings it up, you could, like, yeah, you did mention that, and then you can work on that. If he didn't say that to you, that he wasn't comfortable enough for some reason to tell you that, whether it's because of you or because of him, who knows. But he wasn't in the right place to tell you what he needed to tell you, and he sat on it, and that's kind of and that helped do it. So when you're reflecting, you can't reflect if you don't know the whole
Mm-hmm.
the whole truth. And not everyone has the luxury of having an ex that they can go, hey, tell me why you think we failed. Tell me how you think that we haven't. Sometimes you only have yourself to reflect on, and if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
the conversations, you don't know you fucked up. If you're not told, you know, if I don't get the F on my math quiz, I don't know I failed math. You know,
Right. Right.
No,
And also just having that honest conversation with yourself. So many people don't want to be honest with themselves either, to say, could I have done that one thing? Even if you don't have that partner, just reflecting on like conversations that you had, or
hmm
bad conversations, arguments and stuff like that, bringing that stuff back up and be like, but was I really wrong in that moment, or was I really right, or was it me, or was it them? And even if it was mostly them, are you able to identify the role that you played in whatever, in whatever the turnout was of that argument? And that can help lead you to the other, like, okay, what role did I play in the demise of our relationship? Doesn't necessarily mean that it's all your fault and you need to go and apologize to that person or anything like that, but just that self-reflection to be accountable, so that you don't
mm,
bring in those same things into your next relationship.
yes,
yeah, as a
and
perfect example of that in my life. I do kink conventions every so often, and there was one recently that I did a couple of years ago. I was an online one, and they were having this panel, and the kink convention was basically around um, raising the voices of you know the people who are not looked at, like minorities and people who are treated poorly, with disabilities, people of color, so like raising their voices in kink, because and to be honest, let's be fair, kink is a very straight cis white thing for the most part. So the whole point of this convention is to kind of raise the voices of those those others. Anyways, so they were having this one panel where there's four women of color, and they were talking about being black and being woman in the kink world. And one of the people there had their partner with them, and who was a white lady. And every time she would say something, her partner would be like, "Really, that happened to you? Oh my God, that's so bad. Really?" And I was sitting there feeling very uncomfortable because I'm like, I get it, but this is not the time or place to be doing that. So I messaged and this is a convention that I was an admin for, so I was kind of one of the staff. So I messaged the organizer. I said, "Hey, I love her. She's a great person, but this is kind of not the time and place for this. Can we at least tell her just be aware of her what's happening?" So he messaged her. She gets up and leaves. I don't know what he said to her, but she ended up getting up and leave. Come to find out, the next year we had the convention, her partner was like, "Yeah, can we say that I need her here because she's like my service animal, and whoever said whatever last time, she's going to be here, and that's just how it is." And I was like, I felt bad because I'm like, here I am trying to be a good person, trying to be an ally, or trying to ally as much as I can, and I hurt my friend. Right. So I pulled her aside later. I was like, "Look, that was me. This is why I did it, and I'm sorry." And I was talking to my husband, and he's like, "You really didn't do anything wrong." I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't, but I still hurt a friend." Mm-hmm. So whether or not my actions were honest and true, I did something to hurt somebody, and I need to reevaluate what I had done in that situation or how I could have potentially done it better.
Mm-hmm. And I see why you did it too, because you have being a person of color and a woman, of course, you have people who are trying to be allies, and and they don't know of these different experiences, or they've heard about it, but to have someone that they know personally going through that, and and typically it's like, "Man, you're such a great person, and you're so this and you're so that. I can't believe something like that happened to you," or whatever the case is. But I mean, I agree with you, like knowing time and place, especially if this is your partner. First of all, if you don't know this shit about your partner, I feel like there's more to go on, right? Like y'all really haven't had no real ass conversations, especially when you're a person of color, and you're with someone who is not. Having some of those conversations, I think, is really important, because most people don't know where you're coming from or what has happened to you, or you as a person of color, because we are so good at not realizing our traumas. If you don't know that it was a traumatic thing, and you tell somebody else and they're just like, "I'm so sorry that happened to you," and of course we're like, "Oh, well, I mean, it happens," they're like, "No, that is trauma." And if you have someone who's aware, they can tell you how your trauma has been, how it's been playing out in your life and your relationships based on other stories. But so for me, I agree with your husband. Like, I don't think that you did anything wrong. I think that's something that, while you might be shocked in something like that, no time and place, you guys can have that. You can save that for a conversation later, so that you can still be present, especially if you're going to be this person's designated emotional support animal or emotional support human.
Yeah.
I need you to be, to me, being supportive means being here to hold my hand, being here, just being here. I don't necessarily need your commentary, but let's talk about it later since you're curious about it. So that's for me. And I feel like a lot of other people would say the same thing. However, whatever the dynamics of that person's relationship is, clearly is something completely different. So, because I'm with you, I would have been like, if you could just do me a favor and shut the fuck up and let her talk.
Me in the audience, literally.
Right.
I completely understand that. I obviously what I did was I didn't do anything wrong, and I was totally fine with that. But kind of going back to the whole topic we were talking about, I didn't look at it. I didn't look at the situation and say, "Well, I did nothing wrong, so I don't know why she'd be mad at me." So whatever.
Right.
I looked at the situation and said, "What could I have done differently? How could I have handled this differently? Or what could I have done to cause less of an anger reaction or less traumatic reaction for my friend?" And that's why the point is, I think that's what more people need to do. Stop saying, "Well, I was right," or "I did nothing wrong," so it's always all them, and look at saying, maybe I didn't do anything wrong, but what could I have done right, or what didn't I do right? What could I have done better?
And I will say that's more so of moving, well, maneuvering in a way of accepting automatic accountability and just self improvement overall. And I will say, like in those spaces, it is also important to recognize that you did absolutely nothing wrong at the same
Yeah,
time, but you just want to know how to be a better friend. So
exactly.
Hmm.
that's the difference. Like it's not that you have to hold yourself accountable for doing something wrong, but with this specific friend, okay, how can I be a better friend to you so that
Hmm.
you don't feel isolated or feel attacked or feel less than or feel as though I stepped across any boundaries
Hmm.
um, versus anybody else. Because in this moment, I was rooting for you. I was in your corner. I was trying to defend as best as I knew how to. And then
Hmm.
on the back end, I learned something completely different. So, how can I make sure that I'm a better friend for you and only you in this aspect? And but
Right.
Hmm.
overall, and like if you look at a general aspect, because to me, I will say you did absolutely nothing wrong because
Right.
I would
Like
just be like, if
you
I was
stepped up
there,
for a friend when you were supposed to. Damn it, that's what you did.
because
But
look, if
again,
I
yeah.
was there, I'd be like, bitch, why you inserting yourself in this colored conversation?
And then there's an argument and all kinds of
But to
So
bring it back to around to what you were saying, it's like yes, like in relationships as well. It's not about trying to figure out what you did wrong necessarily. It's about what you can do better. You
mhm,
know,
stuff.
and that's kind of that was the point I was trying to make. Is like, yeah, yes, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but what could I have done better? You know,
yes,
how could I handle it differently? You know, and just like in a relationship, you know, if a bad relationship breaks up, you know, you may think you did nothing wrong, but then you got to think about, well, what could I have done better? What could I have done to fix or help?
Hmm.
And that's what we
exactly.
need to focus on.
Okay, so since it is approaching 9 quickly, I'm going to combine these next two topics and then of course we'll end on the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all right. So what is the impact of self-love on healing as well as how does self-care relate to sexuality? Who would like to tackle that first?
I guess I'll go.
Okay.
um,
Still putting my thoughts together.
yeah, take your time. I think self. I think if in anything, no matter who you are, no matter what the situation, no matter what your relationship, no matter what the outcome, self love is probably the most important thing to understand, to get to move past or move on or move up. If I don't love myself, I can't love you.
Mm,
You know, if I don't really love who I am, I can't really love who you are.
Hmm.
So and with that comes, like you said, like comes like a healing energy. You know, for me, when I was younger, you know, in my 20s, I was always a fairly heavy person. Up to a couple of years ago, I had bariatric sleeve surgery, so I lost a ton of weight. But I was always a very, very heavy set. And I always made a joke, well, the people I'm attracted to aren't attracted to me. Because I was always attracted to, like, you know, the cute twinkie boys. And I'm like, here I am, this big fat guy, and nobody likes. And at least that's how I felt. So I didn't really love myself. So they couldn't love me. And I couldn't really love them. And it took me years, and it took me a marriage basically to realize that that's bullshit. And now, like, I'm in my 40s, and I have hot 20-year olds, 20 something year olds hitting on me and talking to me and wanting to be with me. And I'm like, that blows my fucking mind. And I'm like, that is, I mean, that, and not only does that feel good, but it also helps with that self love. It helps with that
Hmm.
healing, because it's like, yeah, I understand. I am attractive. I am a good person. I am desired. You know, yes, my husband's desired me for our entire relationship, and I get that. But you know, just like your parents, they're supposed to love you, type of thing. You know, I don't want to downplay his feelings, but it almost becomes second nature that he's almost expected to care about me
Hmm.
and to desire me. But now they have these other people do it. It feels so good for me, because it's like I can say, like, fuck, maybe I am hot. maybe I am attractive,
Mhm.
maybe I'm a good person. And that helps me love myself more. And it helps me heal those old wounds that I had and be more confident and be more comfortable, and part of that is like bringing the second topic into it is the self-care. If you don't take care of yourself, then you're not going to leave yourself open for others. You know,
Mm,
like I said, a couple of years ago, I had bariatric sleeve surgery. The reason I did that is because I was 300 pounds and I was pre-diabetic, and I saw myself destined to die young and leave my husband without me, and that was not what I wanted, and because I wasn't taking care of myself, so I chose to care for myself, and made myself a better person. Got the surgery, lost the weight, maintained it, worked towards this, did what I needed with the therapy, we did all this stuff, and I needed to do that in order to feel the love, to feel the self-love. And had I not done that, I don't know if I would have gotten to where I am today
Mhm.
because of the way the negativity I felt about myself.
mm, that's real. Nicole,
Real.
anything you want to add before I jump in?
Yeah, I agree with I definitely agree with being able to love yourself, learning how to love yourself, even understanding that you might not love yourself every day. I feel like that's normal. Especially in the society and the world that we live in, it makes it real hard to love yourself every day.
Chile.
But but
Especially if you're not like the ideal model body and perfect skin and all
right,
that.
right,
Yeah,
or whatever it is that's holding you back on that specific day that you don't
yeah,
truly love yourself, right? So I definitely agree with that, because if you don't love yourself, it makes it harder for you to truly love somebody else or completely give yourself or be unconditional in your love of somebody else, because you conditionally love yourself. So do you truly know how to unconditionally love somebody else, right? um but and understanding that you might not, just the same way you might not love yourself, everybody, or well, I shouldn't say love, even like yourself every day, you're not always going to like your partner all the time, but that's okay, because you accept them for who they are, just the same way you accept yourself for you, and you still love yourself and the other person unconditionally, right? So I think self-love is huge, and being on your healing journey, um which I think is good, is something that's constant. Like I don't think there's ever a state of just like, oh, I'm healed, and no, life's all the time, and there's always going to be something in there to try to knock you off of your damn access a little bit. So you have to continuously do the work to maintain that, or at least go above that if you can. So for sure, I do think that self-love is huge when it comes to that journey. Same thing with self-care. If you don't take the time to take care of yourself, with whichever way that looks like for you, just like you said, bariatric surgery, just so that you felt like, I'm not going to die in 2 years, or you know what, I work way too hard and I'm constantly being stressed out, and I need a way to release all of that stress and anxiety or whatever that's built up in my body, because I feel like I literally feel terrible. So getting a massage or working out, boxing, whatever it is, to release all those things, like those are things that care, those are things that are part of your self-care. It isn't just going to get a massage and going to a spa day and stuff. That, all that is great. You should definitely do all of that shit, especially if you love it. But also think about the other things that truly care, that truly speak to care of your internal self, your spiritual self, your emotional side. All of these things are part of your self-care. You should be doing something that reaches each one, it checks off each one of those boxes mentally, your education, all of that. Like all of these things are a part of your self-care. If you don't feel good, then how is it going, then it's going to show typically in your sexual self, when you're trying to be sexy, when you're trying to say that this is who I am, or people, especially people who are like bi-curious, or not fully coming to terms with these different aspects of themselves and understanding it, you're going to constantly, I feel like you're going to constantly hide that or diminish that part of yourself, because there's some kind of shame there, or you just don't love that part about you. I think I'd be amazing if I didn't like this. Why? Embrace all of that. That is who you are. So you have to, like, all of that plays such a huge role in sexuality in so many other areas of your life. So you have to constantly be working on that. You have to really love who you are all the time. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
explanation.
And what's great is self care could be nothing more than a bubble bath.
Yep,
Yes.
true,
Mhm.
true.
What I will add to the conversation as it relates to just understanding self love and how it does contribute to your healing. It helps you recognize the things that you hate about yourself, as well as helps you understand the things that you appreciate. And it also provides a framework for you to reframe those things that you hate to the things that you love. Because I even know, like, being at, in the society that we live in, where you have to hate yourself because of being overweight, or have to hate yourself for being too feminine, or even hate yourself for being too old, and all these other things. You have to focus on, what is it that I love about myself? What is it that I care about that makes me keep going forward? What is it that makes me feel fulfilled? What makes me feel whole? Because we're not given, though, that advice outside of ourselves. Like, yeah, you can go to counseling, yeah, you can do all these other things, but not everybody has access to those things to help you find and discover what those things are for yourself. So many people have to discover it for themselves. Like, I love my tits, I love my ass, I love my pussy, I love my dick, I love my asshole, I love my cheeks, I love my feet, I love all these things. Sometimes self-love in healing looks like you looking at a mirror and looking at every single thing that every single person that you engaged with throughout your life that told you that these are things that you have to hate about yourself, and telling yourself, rather than hate it, I want to love it. I
Mhm.
want to feel fulfilled in every single aspect of who I am whenever I walk outside. And what are those individual things? Like, I even remember listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about feet and how certain individuals were not comfortable with sharing their feet with other people. There's a moment where you have to recognize, this is something that I hate about myself. How can I shift the conversation or shift the view that this thing that I once saw as ugly, I see as a part of me, and I appreciate that as being a part of me, and every single inch of my body is something that is beautiful. That every single inch of what I used to hate is something that I probably should love. And even in
Mhm.
that aspect of loving these things that you see as flaws, you can even recognize, this is something that I want to change for myself, rather than something that I want to change for others. Because I feel discomfort when I hear of stories of people who get plastic surgery because they want to fit a certain norm, or they want to fit a certain image, because other people will find them beautiful, rather than they found themselves beautiful by making that change.
Mhm.
And it hurts me because I'm like, you were beautiful before. I get that you didn't see it, but after you made that change, do you see the beauty that's there now? Or do you just see, what else can I change in my body to be a little bit more acceptable? And that's the thing that makes a huge difference in where self-love can comes in versus um just doing things for other people's appreciation. And
Attention, adoration, false sense
ex-
of like, yeah. I think of Little
exactly.
Kim when you were talking about that. Like Lil Kim, I think many, if not all of us, are like, she was so beautiful, so naturally beautiful, so gorgeous, and we loved her. And of course, when you in the industry, there's nothing like having a little nip tuck is nothing new. People do it, but like she went so far. I remember when we didn't see her, at least I didn't see her. Um, in media for a long time, and then all of a sudden she popped back up, and I was like, "Who the fuck is that? Like, that's not Kim Jones.
I don't know
No,
this
no,
woman.
sir. That's not Kim Jones. Like, why did she have to do all of that?" But I remember, when she first came on the scene and how she different interviews and stuff like that, like how she would talk about herself and how she was just like, oh, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, and everybody's just like, Kim, you are fucking fine. Are you serious? Like, you have any idea? You have any idea? Like, the men who are lined up to just get a taste of you is not just because of who you are and because you're famous. It's because you're fine for real. So yeah, so things like that, I'm with you. It makes me sad, because again, like, I can understand enhancing something so that you feel even better about yourself. I mean, because there's always something that we couldn't help with, we were born with that shit. But to say that you're doing this because you're trying to fit whatever norm, whatever stereotype, whatever false sense of belonging or attractiveness, that's the part where I have a problem, because I'm just like, so when you're 82 and you got the silicone and the rest of you is sagging, gravity is taking hold, and you got titties that are still up to the sky, how are you going to explain that? What are we doing? Are you taking them out? Because if you are, that's a different story. But those are all things that I thought about. I'm like, you're doing this now you're doing it now for now. What is the long-term effect of that? And how beautiful, how much more after this do you feel like is going to be like, well, I did this and I think I want to do this too. And I'm not shaming anyone who does plastic surgery, because it's there for the cosmetic, but it's also there for so many other reasons. But I think it's just important to understand, like, understanding the reason why you're doing it. Are you truly going to be loving you after you are done doing it? Or are you really doing it for somebody else?
Yeah, I have a friend that got a boob job many, many years ago. She didn't have terrible boobs. She admitted she liked her boobs. She just wanted bigger tits. And she didn't do it for anybody. She didn't do it for any look. She wanted to do it for her. And after that, she got her tits done, and she loved them. And we would always joke about them, because she's like, I fully admit that they're fake. So when people ask, so we had this running joke, like, are they real? Yeah, they're real. real fine.
Real fake.
But anyways, but yeah, she did it for herself. And like, kind of going back to what you're saying about like little Kim, and like just kind of embracing other people, what you're saying, Vernon, about embracing what other people say about you. There's something that I've always practiced, and there's something that I talk about practicing, is I go with the fake it till you make it method. Like, pretend. Like, I can sit in the mirror and I can look at myself and I can rattle off every little thing I hate about myself. What's harder is to rattle off all those things that I like about myself, and then talk about those things that I would like to change or potentially not hate, and pretend that I love them and fake it because like we talked about earlier, the brain is a powerful muscle. Fake it until you convince yourself that this actually isn't a big deal, because it's usually not. I could lose like 10 more pounds, but you know what? I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to talk about the dad bod. I'm going to talk about how I'm still pretty fucking hot. And even if I don't believe that, I'm gonna tell myself that until I finally do. And most people, I think that's what people should try practicing more of.
Yes.
Take those comments for what they take, those compliments that you get from people for what they are. And that's the thing, like, we're our harshest critic, when someone's just like, oh my God, you look amazing, oh my God, your skin this, or your tits this, your ass this, da 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 da. And and sometimes you're just trying to hit. But understand that there's a reason. Like, they already have an idea, and we talked about this in the nudes episode, but they already have an idea of what you look like. This is part of what attracted them to you, other than your personality and whatever else. They already have an idea of what you look like under all of that clothes that you got on. Let them continue to compliment you. That's somebody. There's just like there's always someone out there for everyone. Guess what? You got some people knocking on your door as well. Take those compliments for what they are. So even if you don't see it, somebody else is going to see it. Even when I'm just like, oh, I don't know. You're talking shit about this one girl who's fat. What about me? And they're like, no. You carry it different. You look this, you look that. And I was like, well, shit, I guess I am fine, right? Okay. And you just have to take that. And take those compliments and make that part of your affirmations. Like, I might not see myself as gorgeous today, but that one person said this, and fake it till you make it. keep on saying that. Keep on saying it until you believe it too. Carry yourself to a higher standard, even if you
Because
do have to dress a certain way or smell, spray that perfume or cologne that makes you feel beautiful, sexy, handsome, whatever. Do that so you can feel better about yourself.
let's be real. Everybody on this panel, everybody listening live, everyone who's going to listen to this recording later, if any one of you can honestly tell me you can take a compliment and you're comfortable having someone genuinely compliment you, does not make you uncomfortable, let me know how, because I have not figured that. I'm in my 40s and I still squirm when someone gives me a genuine compliment, and I don't know anybody who doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's not physical, like mentally, you're just like,
yeah,
okay.
Doesn't even have to be about your body. If it's like, wow, you're really smart, you really did a great job. It's hard. Like I always say, like I don't like taking compliments. They feel weird. They feel uncomfortable, and that's because
Yeah.
we hate on ourselves so much.
Yeah.
So learn. That's it's easy to say learn to take a compliment, but it's back. Yeah, fake it till you make it. Pretend until you actually believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. All right, so we're slowly approaching 9. So
Just now we
let's
were quickly
go
approaching 9 and we still had like 29 minutes until, and now we're
right.
slowly approaching.
And we have
I
7.
don't know what's going
We have
on.
7. So, what I will do, rather than doing any last words, I would like a couple tips, a few tips, or whatever, however many number of tips that you have, for the audience out there who's listening, who will be listening once it's released. By the way, I decided I'm just going to release this after November, but the video will be available a lot sooner, and I will be taking the video down like when November hits and bringing it to the Patreon because mine as well. Um, but the audio will be releasing after November. But I will say, for any individuals out there, what tips do you have for them to be kind to themselves?
That is the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
Right.
I think for me, the biggest thing I can say is it's okay. No matter what you feel, no matter what you think, no matter what or who you like, it's okay. And if you just need to be able to accept that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There never was anything wrong with you. There never will be anything wrong with you. Just because you have a different opinion from somebody else doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you unique. And that's okay.
I like that. How about you,
I like that
Nicole?
too. Um, I would say, I mean, like you were saying at the end, like be kind to yourself, but make sure that when you're being kind to yourself, like I mean, we're definitely our own harshest critics, like for sure. We disappoint ourselves or we fall short or feel like we fall short and we beat ourselves up. But be kind to yourself. Don't forget to celebrate even the smallest accomplishments, and that's something that I personally had to learn for myself because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, um and I know that I'm someone who will not celebrate my wins, because I just see them as just a small stepping stone to get to that larger goal. What am I celebrating for? We haven't gotten there yet, but understanding like you need to be kind to yourself. You need to celebrate that one thing, whether it was something that was hard to accomplish or not. You gotta give yourself some grace, give yourself some kindness, know when to take a damn break and listen to yourself, listen to your body, and go take a fucking nap and not do things or just go to bed. Um, because that's stuff that's truly important. You're not going to be able to be your best self for yourself, much less anybody or anything else, if you don't listen to yourself, if you don't take the time to really take care of of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, all of that. you all of those aspects of self, you really have to take the time to nurture them. Not always at the same time, the same day, but you have to take some time because the you are constantly evolving, you are constantly growing, and your life is constantly lifing and doing crazy shit to knock you out of there. You have to take those moments to really take care of yourself and really celebrate you, and and understand what loving on yourself truly looks like. Like I used to think that shit was a sham. Like, oh, you gotta lay in yourself and love yourself before you could do da da da. And I'm just like, I know me, bitch. Like I'm me. What do we have to do? But truly understanding what that shit looks like, finding yourself or realizing like who you truly are. I'm like, oh man, I really am not as mean as I keep on saying that I am. I'm not really a thug who don't cry. Well, I was, but like understanding these different aspects about yourself and being okay with it. Like honestly, being okay with yourself, every aspect of yourself, whether you feel is bad or not, that's still who you are. And you have
Mm.
the freedom to change who you are. You have the freedom to do something different or be something different. You don't need to be the product of your environment. You don't need to be the product of your parents and your upbringing and shit like that. You don't you are you. You don't have to carry none of that shit. Just be who you are, but please love every aspect of who you are. But also don't use who I am as an excuse to be a dipshit. Okay? Just don't do that. Please. So, but love
Uh,
yourself though, through and through.
yes. Well, to like finalize everything, I will say my advice in terms of like loving yourself and being kind to yourself, it all is rooted in just finding the ways that you feel love and honoring those ways and appreciating those. Give yourself the grace that you deserve. Understand that sometimes what I've done so far is enough and that is okay. Understanding that I am a work in progress, that I will fail at times, and each failure that I experience is just a stepping stone to my next success, and just appreciating the journey that you're on. If you see a need to change something, feel free to do it. Again, like I said, there may be some failures in that progress to make that adjustment, but there may be some tremendous success in that as well. Be open to the failures, being open to the successes, being open to the new opportunities, being open to just a new way of loving yourself in a way that you haven't experienced so far. And that in essence is the best, well, not the best way, but just one of the many ways of you to be kind to yourself. Now, with that being said, I do want to thank you, Wes, as well as you, Nicole, for coming on to the podcast and blessing us all with your wonderful insight as we did this wonderful live event that actually lasted the entire 3 hours. I was not expecting that. Look
It's
at
the
that.
tangents. The
The
tangents helped us get through.
tangents. Exactly.
It's us too.
Right.
Yep, I agree. Me, you, Wes, we're your best hosts ever. No disrespect or no shade to anybody else. I'm just saying. I
Not to
feel like
sidetrack, but I was just saying that I was talking to someone about doing this. I was like, and then this lady Nicole's gonna be there. She's my best friend. Haven't talked to her since the last interview, but she's still one of my best friends now, and I love her to death.
that's
I
so funny
cannot.
because after I think what after our first taping, I was like, "What's Wes's information?" By the way, he never actually gave it to me. What's Wes's
Oh,
information
Did you send
so
that
I
to
can
me?
call it so I could talk? No, you didn't. I had to like find
Huh.
his email address after you sent the next invite, even though I didn't do
Ooh.
anything. And I'm like, I would love to keep in touch with Wes here. This is my new friend also.
yeah,
So,
Well,
but I love that you told people about me too because I did
of
too.
course. You're
I love
amazing.
it.
What
look
can I
at
say?
this. Look at
Thank
this.
you
This
so
is what the
much.
You're both amazing. Let's be real.
this is what the
That is true.
Heauxliloquy podcast is all about, bringing people together. Look at
Of
God.
course.
And
Okay,
scared and horny.
let me
I'm
end
gonna
this
say it's
because
no, no. Somebody needs to
Sheila,
put it on a t-shirt. I'm gonna make the meme. I'm gonna make the meme and I'm gonna send it to y'all. But it needs to be on a t-shirt.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
I'm
want that
here
on.
for it. I'm
Yeah.
here for it. All right, so let me go ahead and end the show. Thank you, Nicole and Wes, for coming on to the podcast. You both know I appreciate y'all so fucking much. For the listening audience, make sure y'all look into Hovember, even though this episode is coming out after Hovember. So that means go back and listen to all of things that was released in November, and then
Right.
go back all the way up until like the first episode so you can catch the fuck up. So you can hear all the
Right.
great things, all the great conversations, because here we are. But again, I appreciate both of you all for coming on to this live with me and doing this. I appreciate it so much. To the audience out there, as I end with my favorite little phrase, just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful, you are worthy of happiness and joy, you are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, I love you all, and I will see you all next episode. Bye.
Bye.